Hello and welcome to the Winter Equestrian Festival, week 3 of competition, and that means we're into the 4-star week. It is, of course, NetJets Grand Prix, and our thanks to NetJets once again. Private aviation transformed from routine to remarkable, personalising every detail of your travel. A NetJets standard is not just to meet their definition of perfection, but also yours. Find your ideal travel solution at netjets.com. Our thanks to NetJets once again, continued supporter here in Wellington, and is always a big night of competition. The streaming is brought to you by Dodd Technologies, and they're supporting right the way throughout the Winter Equestrian Festival this year. Industry leaders providing creative design and technical support. Services for sports, entertainment and special events industry. Family owned and operated for over 40 years. They provide design and technical support for NBA, NFL, IndyCar and the FEI World Cup Finals. And also brought to you in partnership with the US Equestrian and USEF network as well. We're coming to you from all angles here in Wellington this year, bigger and brighter than ever before. Big welcome here to the Winter Equestrian Festival and Week 3, the NetJets Grand Prix, over $200,000 in prize money, and it's bringing out the big names here in big style. This is where we start in earnest into the season. What known as 4-star, we go right the way up to 5 stars, but this is very big money and some big horses in preparation for a big season ahead as well. So let's take a look at some of the riders to watch as part of tonight's Grand Prix. Well, several from the world's top 10, including Richard Vogel, of course, who was the winner of the Grand Prix last week with Sidello. Top 10 rider in great form once again. World number 2, Ben Mayer, last year's winner of the Grand Prix. Nicolas Philipparts on class form from Belgium, another one to pick out of the group. And also for France, Nina Malavé. And also joining the group is a man who was top 3 here last year in Kent Farrington. So let's take a look at a few of those riders in detail who feature in tonight's field. Starting off is Richard Vogel of Germany, Sapanu Balubé. We see them here winning the Rolex Grand Prix here last year, of course, the $500,000 class then. He's been in amazing form since. He won the Grand Prix out on the turf last week as well with Sidello. He's a man in tremendous form, and a man with form is always one to watch. Coming in with confidence, having won in Geneva as well. He's very much on a hot streak at the moment, and so very hard to look past. Then, of course, we look to another man who's in tremendous form too, but he's the world number 2 right now. He won this Grand Prix here last year with Dallas Vegas Bati. Tonight, he's riding his World Championship ride in Fultic HB, the same horse that he rode to a 4th place finish in the European Championships. A win for Ben onto week 1 as well of the Grand Prix means he's also following a hot streak. Then on to Nicolas Philipparts too, the Belgian rider finishing 2nd to Richard Vogel last week out on the turf, winner of the WEF Challenge Cup this week as well. He's certainly got all the form here to go one better this time around. He had a tremendous run at the tail end of last year as well, finishing fantastically on home ground in Mechelen at the World Cup show there. He comes on very much in his stride. Nicolas Philipparts is one to watch for the European charge here tonight. Also from the Europeans is one to watch on the up, and a young lady rider who is 23 years of age, was with us here last year as well, Nina Malavé and Cartier SR. Finishing well last season in the Rolex lineup of shows, was top 5 in the Grand Prix qualifier there. She's very much at home in this arena on a top-class horse for the Rain family, and this is one that we could see maybe jumping a big round out of tonight's big competition as well. But a long way to go to get to that number 1 spot past our world's top 10 featuring tonight. And always hard to look past Kent Farrington, so we don't. Tulane is a fast horse. They proved that in Geneva just a few weeks ago, winning at top max speed. And here, Kent Farrington looking to get another win on the board. He finished 3rd in this Grand Prix as this partnership here last year. He's currently world number 3, and this pair, if it comes down to speed, Richard Vogel and he could certainly be a big duel going head-to-head for tonight's NetJets Grand Prix. So those are a few of the players as part of tonight's Grand Prix. It's a big field of 45, though, and includes many more from McLean Ward onwards, and it's going to be an exciting one. We're getting ready for the start. Stay tuned with us for tonight's NetJets Grand Prix.
With NetJets, travel will always be personal. We do everything it takes to make every flight exceptional. Every single detail of your experience is personalized. just for you. As our standard is not just to meet our definition of perfection, it's to exceed yours.
Well, a very good evening and welcome to tonight's NetJets Grand Prix. As you can see, I'm Stephen Wild from the graphic there, and alongside me is Jimmy Turano. It's all revealed. Jimmy, very good evening to you.
How are you, Stephen?
Very, very well. Lovely evening ahead. You and I were just discussing the start list here, which we're going to have a look at in a few moments' time, and the course as well. Let's look at the start list first. Jimmy, some early strong ones coming in here with the likes of Richie Vogel, which I mentioned in the run-up, though.
Yeah, tonight's a four-star class, but it's got the makings of a five-star anywhere in the world. Tough course. I think Peter does a great job. And as you said, right off the bat, we've got some strong horse-rider combinations.
Few in here that could certainly pull a good round out. So Grant Sager, Matt Williams of Australia, three-time Olympian. Hallie Grimes upcoming as well as a US rider. Kato PS, going to be good experience for her. McLean Ward, he doesn't need much experience here with Callis. I mean, it's, again, strong through right the way through.
Yeah, I think McLean's coming in with Callis. He's sort of seeing what he has. He's going to use that mare sparingly this year. I think she's on the list for the Olympic Games. Jumping a four-star here, we got Be Manley to follow him, but for sure, a strong group all the way through.
Kin O'Connor with Maurice Ben Mayer, of course, last year's winner of this Grand Prix, goes 19th in the order. Tyser Owen with our top international rider on week one. Of course, that was the Grand Prix that was won by Ben Mayer as well. Natalie Dean brings back a Kota M, which is great to see. Lily Keenan with her Monterey Grand Prix winner with Queensland E. Zoe Conter of Belgium. Kent Farrington, Tulane, who's very much on the upward trend, again mentioned in our run-up to this. And then Jacob Pope, Highway FBH, going to be really interested to see how those two go, Jimmy. And of course, we're going in reverse order of qualifying as well. So it's going to take us into a final few. That's actually David O'Brien, Darragh Kenny, and Nicola Philipparts in our final three. Going to be a big finish.
Yeah, I think Nicola's horse looks great. Darragh Kenny's coming in with a different horse tonight. He's saved for the Grand Prix. That's a top horse in Amsterdam, so we'll see what's in him tonight.
Let's have a look at the course. Fidelity Investments sponsoring our course animation here, and our course, as Jimmy said, by Peter Grant of Canada, our course designer assisted by Jason Shelley this week. And so, fence one at the top end of the arena, big vertical there at 150, the red and white. Kubota fence coming up next on course, triple bar at 185. Looks like 9 strides down to the next at 3, but we'll discuss that in more detail as we go. 156 to a black fence that will cause its problems. 4A and B going back on the table bank side of the arena. Those that know the arena well will know what I mean. 1 stride down there, 4 strides down to fence 5 at 152, 165. Back along the centre, 6 strides getting longer down here to the wall, and then on to the Oxer at the next at 165. Again, beautifully presented fence in the sculptures there at fence 7. Roll back to fence 8 then with the water tray underneath at 1.60 meters. 7 strides, again, potentially we'll discuss this one. 9 ABC coming on 2 strides. Big middle part here, 152, 165, 155 on the way out there of the triple combination of the NetJets line of fences down there as they go past the entrance at fence 10. Do not discount fence 10, the Hermes fence, going just past the entrance gate. It's there for a reason. Turning back to 11, Lugano fence in their colours, purely their colours, which again is interesting to see. A little bit of a play with distances here to fence 12 to the next on course, and then coming into the final line at the almost avocado covered fence at the shells there, and 5 strides potentially could squeeze a 6, we'll see, down from 13 and 14 to finish off. So that's what it looks like. 83 seconds is the time allowed. Like I say, course designer Peter Grant with Jason Shelley this week for this $215,000 4-star NetJets Grand Prix here tonight. 17 jumping efforts, 14 obstacles, 515 meters. It's a fair tour around the track here to take them into the final stages of the Grand Prix as well. So we're getting set for the traditional starting with the national anthem, and I'll hand over to the arena. And bringing us the national anthem today is Elmbridge Gale Elementary School. Many of the schools around the area here are involved with different displays, and tonight's singing of the national anthem as well, to start us off here for another big night here at Wellington International.
A big thank you to
Elmbridge Gale Elementary, starting us off
into
the night, and it is a Saturday night as we settle in for the rest of the season. They're going to be big nights, and Jimmy and I have already been talking about that as well. Jimmy, you said a little bit earlier on, this looks like a 5-star field. It's an almost 5-star course out there. There's no easy win here tonight.
No, I mean, those days are gone. There's no easy wins. This is a tough track. The horse-rider combinations we have nowadays are all superior. The footing is fantastic. Horses really cover the ground here. So, you know, these courses get tougher and tougher. We do have a big 5-star coming up in a couple weeks. I think this is a lead up to that.
Yep.
People sort of seeing what they have in their horses and then can give them a week off in between. But this is going to be difficult enough.
You're going to have a big few weeks as well coming up for you?
I hope. That's my next goal. I jumped last Saturday night with time faults, but my horse jumped well, leading up to the 5-star in a couple weeks.
Excellent. Okay, Jimmy Turano and I will be taking you through the night. Here we go with our first, and it's going to be Elise Oken of the USA, the High Hopes Farm of North Carolina's Forrestal. 10-year-old horse for her that finished 6th in a good Grand Prix, 3-star up at the World Equestrian Centre in Ocala. Few of those have been competing there through the latter part of last year, and here in Wellington, getting themselves really in the groove and ready for the winter circuit here in Wellington. 10-year-old by Don Diorado for Elise Oken. Elise also due to be part of the teams for the US in the upcoming weeks as well, on to the first the Big Nations Cup shows over in Abu Dhabi as well, as part of a new series there. And with Gelvira, that's her Nations Cup ride as top 5 in the World Cup qualifiers at the National Horse Show, finished 4th in Washington. She's, again, continued to find real consistency, Jimmy, and a good group around her now.
That's a phenomenal horse, the horse she showed at Washington in the indoor circuit. But she seems to continue to come up with a nice backup. She's got a great string of horses. She's riding with a lot of confidence. And, you know, I think Abu Dhabi is going to be a big deal.
And we talked about confidence. I talked about confidence in the lead up to this as well. some of those riders coming in here, and we'll talk about them a lot, but the Richie Vogels, the Nicola Philipparts, coming off some good, solid results, and they've been really in the groove, is going to help them a lot here. Little look down to that fence coming down. The fans coming down to the entrance, Jimmy, what did you make of that? Because it's a dark fence going right towards the in-gate.
Yeah, I think that line's going to ride in 8 strides for just about everybody. I think 1 to 2 sort of sets you up at 9, and that gets you into the 8. Being that skinny vertical, I think you've got to really take care of that, as you said, going right into almost the in-gate corner area there. But I think it's going to ride in 8 for most people. Again, as I said, the horses really cover the ground on this footing. I think Travis does a great job with the ground here.
NetJets triple combination will be an influential part, we seem to think through here. Middle part drops of there. And this line here, there's quite a bit of space to get down to this MS fence, but again, chatting with a couple of people, that's sometimes not a plus.
No, I think he's really sort of sucking you into that oxer. You're coming off the triple line, and it's a long way away, and you're thinking time allowed, and you got to get over to the other side of the ring, and I think that jump's going to come down a lot tonight. This horse is a big jumper, and oddly enough, he's had a couple back rails. Looks like he's jumps with a lot of scope and a lot of ease. She maybe underestimated the width of a couple of the jumps, but all in all, the horse is a big jumper and really a talented horse.
16 jumping one time, 83.23, and Jimmy, again, we're talking this horse is, Forest Styles, a 10-year-old, hasn't had the experience necessarily at the 4-star. We were talking about those that are prepping for the 5-star. We've got another element to this, which is these combinations, exactly like Elisa's got here, that are going the next step up from 3-star to 4.
Yeah, you walk in a ring like this, the horses are always a little impressive. You don't have a lot of experience under the lights. You don't know what to expect out of your horse, and again, I don't think the score reflected the round. Yes, she had 16 and maybe 1 awkward rail, but all in all, just light rails on the back of the oxers.
Now that's the now, and the Evergate Stables Jiminy Cricket, 13-year-old gelding, German bred by Colestus. Niall, plenty of experience for him for a rider who's in the world's top 40, Olympics, World Championships behind him, finished top 3 in the $1 Million Grand Prix back in December as well. Jiminy Cricket has been competing through 5-stars, finished well here back in December too in the 4-star Grand Prix there as well. So should, again, as you say, you're just getting to the point of teeing yourself up for maybe this Grand Prix and some big ones over the next few weeks.
Yeah, and he opts for 10 strides from 1 to 2, but that still sort of set him up to get into the 8 stride to the 3rd jump. He rides with a lot of confidence, a lot of ease. He's always very comfortable. He spent a lot of time over here in this he's really made it home here, knows this horse quite well. Even early on in the beginning, spent some time getting to know him, and the horse just barely trails the hind end there and has the front rail of that oxer down.
This line here, Jimmy, what did you make of this, that the Lighthouse is down to the NetJets?
I think for just about everyone, this was a very patient 7 to the triple. I don't think you can come in there too hot in 6 strides. I think you've got to be patient and do the 7. Otherwise I think you'll really have the front rail of that oxer. And again, we talked about that jump there. That's a long gallop to that jump right by the in gate. And I think we're going to see it come down a lot tonight.
Little plank there at the Kubota fence. Then the final line here. It walked basically, Jimmy, I think for most it's going to be 5 down here.
I think it is. I think the last line is 5, and even the approach to that green vertical, it sort of walked 8 or 9. I think when you're thinking time allowed, most people are thinking a little inside track in 8, and that sort of sets up the 5 for you. But, the way the courses are nowadays, everything is so related and the times are so tight that you really need to have a plan and a number. The minute you start adding a stride here and a stride there, the clock keeps ticking, and that's where the time faults come into play.
Here at the MS fence, as we say, going past the entrance, and it is just set a little bit past the entrance, a little bit on the angle as well into the corner too. You've got to commit yourself to what you want to do there. It's not a related 9. It's not setting you up down there.
And keep in mind, I don't know if the viewers at home can see, you've got the Liverpool built in. They've sort of dug it into the ground there, so that changes things. Also, if that Liverpool is sitting over top of the ground, it's not as spooky. But now you've got it sunk in. The horses stare down, and another element to knock the front rail down.
Just drawing them down into it. Rodrigo Pessoa and Rodrigo, the Brazilian rider with Paseo Farms Gonzalo. New ride for him, but he won the National Grand Prix with us just last week as well on this 13-year-old former ride of Trevor Breen of Ireland. Now, Trevor took this horse right the way through to big competitions, right the way up to 5-star as well. Won a number of competitions back into the UK as well, where Trev's based. And Rodrigo, well, he's been storming along as well, included a team bronze at the Pan Am Games back into October, November as well. But this very swiftly works as a partnership, doesn't it?
This is a brand new ride for him, really. That was sort of a last-minute decision. This is, not a horse that was really purchased for him, but right now he's using it a little bit while, she had maybe a little injury she's coming back from, so Rodrigo figured he'd get the horse in the ring and sort of see what he has. Early on, he has the skinny down. Again, getting into that vertical, coming right towards the in gate.
What did you make of that visually? Because you've got black poles going towards the if you like, the dark entrance. Do you think that's any influence?
I think, it's a careful jump. It's a skinny vertical. The rail's coming down very easily. And I think, again, coming right towards the in gate, I don't think they really see them as well as if it was somewhere else. And then he turned the corner and in that double got a little sticky. I think the distance got away from him. Maybe it rode a little longer than he thought it would and just got a little sticky off the ground and had that down as well. Jumps through the triple quite easily.
Yeah. And if you watch back their jump-off round from the National Grand Prix, I mean, Rodrigo and this horse were just smooth from top to bottom, weren't they?
Textbook ride. I mean, there was sort of an awkward line that was 6 to the double, and I know when everybody walked the course, we discussed that, and he did it well, and especially not knowing the horse, but for sure he's got a lot of experience and getting to know this horse a bit, and again coming home with 3 down. I think the early rails, I think if he was to go again, he could maybe take care of that. I think he got into that skinny vertical maybe a little deeper than he wanted, and the horse hesitated off the ground in the double.
Look here at the triple bar coming down, and exactly that fence we're talking about. You just got to get, it's not a straight line, is it? You've got to get out there a little bit, as you see Rodrigo doing.
Yeah, and that horse really ate up the ground, as we saw last week. Last week in the jump off the last line, for reference, it sort of walked in a really forward 10. A lot of riders did 11, and he did 10 quite easily. So I think, again, tonight, horse covered the ground maybe more than he thought it would.
Wilton Porter of the US. Now, Wilton is a name many of you have seen before if you've been following in Wellington. He was on a winning team here for the US a few seasons back now. 30 years of age, you can see now up on the screen. And Sleepy P Ranch of Wellington's 10-year-old Stirner Mark III. Now, this is a horse that's in the category of moving up. It's jumped 2 and 3 stars very successfully. Now it's into their first 4-star.
And they sort of had to regroup a little bit. They, as you said, he rode on the team, and they had some top horses, and, a couple horses maybe aged out a little bit, got a little older, and they sort of started sort of a sales business, and, they regrouped. Now they're back at the top of the sport again with some top horses. And I think the thing about this course is you're going to see the rails coming down a little bit everywhere.
Yeah.
We've seen right off the bat, early on, everyone has seemed to have a rail early on.
Now, coming in here, he was holding coming into that triple combination.
Yeah, I think the horse is a little backed off. I think when he went to balance, the horse overreacted a bit and didn't step up to B the way he would have liked. And the A to B distance just got away from him again here, just a little late and long to the plank, but he gets away with it. I think that line to the plank is an option line. It's a flat 6 or a very short 7, and either one works. You just got to do it correctly.
Finish on a score of 16 overall, 4 down for Wilton Porter and Stirner Mark III. But as I said at the start of that, this is going to be the biggest course that this pair have jumped as a lineup together so far. So you're going to take the good bits out of this as well and see what you work on.
Absolutely. You got to get in there. You got to see what you have. A lot of these horses, haven't jumped under the lights much. So it's definitely different than daytime. Here we see a very good replay of this. As he jumped into the triple, the horse really shifted hard right. And by going that far to the right, it made the distance even that much longer. And I think that's where he got into a little bit of trouble. I don't think he was expecting the horse to shift right the way he did.
Yes, final fence dropping there as well for Wilton. Germany's Richard Vogel now on World Top 10. 26 years of age and storming the world so far. Winner in Geneva of the Major Grand Prix there a few weeks ago. Won the Keyflow Grand Prix last week on Sidello as well. This was the horse that, again, in our run-up we went through, won the Rolex Grand Prix here last year as a 9-year-old. So still only just into 10 years of age. Sapanu Balabay gelding by Sharman for Richard. And it's been a fantastic pairing together. They won in Monterey. The horses had a little bit of a break since then, and then they're just easing themselves back into action here.
Oh, that was unfortunate. The horse really came off the ground good. Had that skinny down. You know, that seems to be the bogey so far. That's a tough jump. You know, as you said, just a unbelievable horse. Richie's an amazing talent. He's been on fire on everything he rides. It seems like everything he touches turns to gold. And that was just unfortunate that he had that jump down.
But again, you've got back to, you know, and this is a fantastic combination. He won in Geneva with United Touch, so Sapano's had a little bit of a breather. You're getting back in your stride again.
Yeah, and this horse won big. He won, I believe, at Aachen. He won a big class there. And, you know, talking to him the other day, he said he's unsure which horse he's going to take back to Europe to jump the big class there. You know, when you've got a horse like this and you've got United Touch, it's nice to be able to have a 1-2 punch like that, and then you sort of see how they jump here and decide which one you're going to take.
Yeah, we'll go into the Dutch Masters in a few weeks as the live contender in that Rolex Grand Slam. But for now...
Yeah, that was a shame. The horse jumped a phenomenal round. I would love to see a replay. It seemed like he was already up in the air and just put a toe on it, but that was a textbook ride and a beautiful round.
78.92 ran swiftly as well, as these pair tend to be against that time allowed of 83. Let's have a look here, Jimmy.
Yeah, he ended up doing 9, I believe, to that vertical, and maybe got there just a shade deeper than he wanted to. But I mean, you see him over the auction. I mean, everywhere else he just gave a tremendous effort.
So Richard Vogel out of the running just on the 4 faults so far. It's Victor Luminate now. It's Richie Vogel, though, still with the best score at the moment. And ran swiftly at 78.92. Time allowed of 80, in fact 85. They've extended the time allowed to 85 seconds. We're getting that through. Victor Luminate and with Idet. It was second in a Grand Prix qualifier here back in November as well, so got some good form in this arena. And again, maybe a slightly looked past combination, but second in the Gisteren Grand Prix over in the Netherlands last year. Jumped on Nations Cup last year at Hickstead, and also competed out in Europe throughout the whole of the summer, so has got some valuable experience. Has that one down, unfortunately, but might be one to just keep an eye on this season.
Yeah, and especially with the Nations Cup, we've got the Nations Cup here, and then again in Ocala, maybe this is a contender for that Brazilian team. They're actually very strong right now. As you said earlier, Rodrigo was on that team, and then they went to the Pan Am Games as well. But they've got a very, very strong team. And, we've got the 2 Nations Cup here, the Ocala one being very, very important. So maybe a rider that they're looking at.
Yeah. Of course, Stefan de Freitas Barsha there was the individual champion for them in the Pan Am Games. What have you made of this overall? 2 down so far for Victor.
Yeah, and a little bit, I think the same mistake. The horse jumped, both have been in a double. He kind of landed in, what we say, maybe landed on his head a little bit. Didn't have the balance to jump the B element. But all in all, jumping a very good round.
Taking them to a score of 8, going to be inside the time at 81.50, so time allowed extended to 85. Victor Luminati and Idet almost got more out of it the further into the round they got.
Yeah, here we see the replay. Thought the horse, again, maybe landed a little bit on its front end and just didn't get the balance up to jump the B element. And I thought it was sort of the same thing both places.
Triple combination. Again, it's not going to be an easy ride through. Drops the final part. What do you think that was due to?
You know, again, I think the horse is maybe built a little bit downhill, and when he jumped the B element, just was a little low. It was hard to get the balance up, and again, it wasn't a hard rail. No. Just something to work on, and looked like a horse. As I said, I think they're going to maybe use that horse for the Nations Cup at one of these events.
US rider Michaela Langmeier now, the 23-year-old with the Rafty Farm of California's Mimosa van Rollerbeek. Finished second actually the Grand Prix, also up in Ocala just a few weeks ago into December, 3-star there. So set them up nicely. Has been on to Nations Cup shows before now in Europe in the last 12 months. Has been jumping U25s as well. So this is another one that's coming towards the right spot for this 4-star level.
Again, that B element comes down. That's come down a lot tonight. For sure, this is one of our riders to watch. You know, we talk about the future of our sport here in the United States. We talk about McLean and Kent and Laura and who's to follow. I think for sure you got to look at Michaela. She was a top junior rider in U25 and working with Katie Prudent, who gets so much out of riders. Maybe left the horse a little too long at that jump, and it caught up to her. But for sure, you know, you'd say she's one to be the future of our sport.
And in terms of this pair, this is where they need this mileage in a big class like this, because this, as I say, is another step up for them. But that's where we've got to do it. It's not always going to go perfectly, and you've got to take the good bit out of this.
Absolutely, and you know, with having to qualify for these classes, you jump the qualifier and you do qualify. You know, you've got to take that opportunity. You know, some of these classes, you know, you're going into that you're not going to win. At some point, you've got to get the mileage, you've got to get the experience. So when you do qualify, you got to take the opportunity and get in and get your feet wet.
Absolutely. So finish on a score of 12. So 3 down this time, 83.91 for Michaela Langmeier and Mimosa. I say more to come for the 23-year-old. Let's have a look in the early fences here, Jimmy.
Yeah, again, very similar to Rodrigo's rail in my opinion. Right? I think the horse didn't really cover that back rail of the A element, landed a little shallow, and the B element just got a little far away, and the exact same thing there. I think she maybe left it a little more room than she wanted to, and the horse hesitated off the ground.
What's your overall impression of the track now you've watched a few rounds?
You know, unfortunately, or fortunately, you know, we're going in reverse order. So the top ones that finish at the top of the order in the qualifier, we're going to see them at the end. Not to say that any of these riders couldn't jump a clear round tonight. And
this is a little bit of a shake-up as well. I'll explain that more as we go. Let's just get to Scott Keach of Australia, Nobel de La Chapelle for the Southern Cross Equestrian of Ocala for the Australian Olympian. Because, yes, slightly different qualifying now. Top 35 came from the WEF qualifier, and then top 10 from the speed class earlier on this week as well onto the Friday. And those top 10 go the first 10 in the class. And then the next part of the class is the 35 from the qualifier. So there's a little bit of mixing in there. But as you say, reverse orders both. But in our first 10, they were the best out of Friday's class.
You know, I think we're seeing a lot at the 4AB double. We're seeing a lot of rails come there. Again, for the viewers at home that maybe can't see it as well, that's right over here on the side on the rail. And I think the horses are also, you know, especially the greener ones, are losing their focus there and jumping off the rail a bit and then making that oxer a little bit wider. I think Scott sort of knew that and thought he'd get up there, you know, and then therefore he had the front rail of the oxer. And that 5 coming home is actually getting very, very easy for everybody.
Yeah. 84.64 inside the time, but it is going to be 3 down. Total of 12 for Scott Keach there and Nobel de La Chapelle for the Australian. And this line here, as you say, getting into that corner is proving tricky as well, because you've got to really use that space.
Yeah, you know, on one hand you're thinking time allowed, get right over there, but you got to get right into that corner. That's you can't underestimate that oxer at 4A. I mean, it's plenty of jump, plenty of width. I think the one thing Peter did give you tonight at all the oxers, there's plenty of width everywhere. I would say the verticals are not, you know, I don't think we see anything out here that's 162 or 163, but for sure he's giving you a lot of width at the oxers.
Spencer Britton, the 25-year-old of the US, and is now our next up with Stakan 4 and for the Ammon Equestrian, and actually finished top 10 of the World Cup qualifier in Texas a few weeks ago, back into December, also top 5 of the 4-star Grand Prix here in Wellington. Spencer, just having the one horse at this stage, able to concentrate on that from that point of view, but again, it's just nicely trending in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, he really enjoys it. As you know, I watched Fort Worth. I watched that class, and they did a very nice story on he and his brother, who also used to ride, and his sister used to ride, and his father was there, and it's a whole family affair. And, you know, okay, right now at this level, he has one horse, but really enjoying it and doing a nice job. as you know, you cover all the events all around the world, and these top riders have so many horses, and like anything, the more times you get in there, the better. So it's very hard for him right now to compete against the top riders with one horse, but he's doing a great job. I mean, he seems focused. He, like as you said, he did great at Fort Worth. Again, that they're underestimating that Liverpool jump with the the vertical there with the water underneath. I think they got to get up to that a little bit more. So many horses we've seen hesitate off the ground there.
It's 160 coming out of there, and again, when you were walking the course, which we were able to. And again, as you say, you don't necessarily see from the camera. You've got to get out to the rail there. If you the temptation is to just cut that a little bit short. Yeah,
and again, at night under the lights, that jump ride's totally different than it does during the day, because you've got the element of the light shining down. There is water in that actual Liverpool, so with the light shining down, horses tend to stare down into there, and all of a sudden you think you're at a perfect distance, and horse holds off a little bit and makes a little room, and then sticks off the ground.
12 jumping to time for Spencer Britton this time with Stakan 4, and again similar line. They come in again like several of them. They hit the ox are okay, but it's the vertical that's catching them.
Yeah, that's proven to be quite difficult jumping that double. Here we see a great view. You could see there he left him too far away. Even though we're seeing it head on, he left him too far away. And for the viewers at home, at least there, you really saw the splash of the water, so you can sort of see what we're talking about. And with the lights, it totally changes the way that jump rides.
So on to Grant Sager now, the US rider with the 12-year-old Frida. Finished into 7th place in the American Gold Cup last year in Traverse City, a super round for them there. And with this mare by Balou Duroy rather. Jumped on a Nations Cup before now, back in 2022. And has also made team appearances previously as well in the Major League competitions this year as well, including where they finished 2nd in Vancouver. So again, he's been starting to get more of that exposure into this next level.
Yeah, and this is a big jumper. She's a fussy mare, but can jump a big track, I believe. Oh, that was a shame. He actually rode that well, and I think having seen so many have the B element with the front end, he really protected it and just trailed the hind end. But I believe we saw him jump a clear round in the 5-star at the Gold Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
A horse that's very capable of jumping a big track. Rode that quite well. And again, we see the back rail of that come. I think a horse that's got so much blood and so much scope, I think he maybe trusted her just a bit and thought she would get to the back rail easier than she did.
Again, this is a little bit of, they've been a partnership for a while now, and again, it gives them time here just during this circuit to try and get some good rounds together and get used to this arena again. The same environment always helps.
Yeah, the nice thing down here is that we do have the same ring. We every odd week we do go down and jump on the grass, but the nice thing here is you can really get your horse comfortable jumping in the same ring under lights, and the horses get quite comfortable. There we see a great replay. I think he rode that well, but he's seen so many people have it down in front that he protected it and just had it down behind. Here we see the triple combination. Came in well and just sort of sat a little chilly, trusting the scope, and then had the back rail down.
So the early double at 4 costing again. And let's talk about that, because in terms of distance through there, what you're watching on the camera might start to look like it's, is it a little bit short in there? But it's 8 meters 20, so it's not short in there.
No, not at all. And the oxer, as I said, is quite wide.
160 Oxer taking them into there. Matt Williams of Australia, Valdez here for the season as well, for the 3-time Olympian. Former ride of Evan Coluccio, who actually won Grand Prix with this horse. Valdez, who's fairly new ride for Matt from that point of view. The 11-year-old by Vigo de Sway, which is the horse that won the World Championships back in 2010. But Matt with plenty of experience. But again, he's going to be in a little bit of an exploratory mission tonight, isn't he, as well?
Yeah, this is a brand new combination. I believe he started riding him in the fall at the indoor circuit, which is always tough. A horse you don't know, and you're riding him in a small indoor ring. Horse has the top block off the wall. And again, another one that had that skinny vertical down. It's come down a lot tonight. Evan, as you said, Evan did quite well with this horse, as did Luke Jensen with John and Missy Clark.
No.
And again, as I said with Grant, maybe trusted that a little bit too much in the triple combination. This is a horse with a lot of scope and big jump, and didn't quite cover that oxer, landed on the back rail, which then made the C element quite far away. This is a very brave horse. I don't think it was about bravery. I think when he landed on the back rail, the distance just got too far away.
And this is where you need Matt's experience as well. Exactly what he's going to do. He's going to go and jump the first fence and say, okay, that didn't quite work. We'll make a few adjustments and go from there.
Yeah, again, as we just discussed, there's so many weeks down here, and it doesn't make sense to really try to come back through a difficult triple like that and get the horse to lose his confidence. I think he did the right thing, leave on a positive note.
So, heading on out, Matt Williams of Australia and Valdez. So, let's just recap on the scores so far. 1 for Fulter. That's Richard Fogel and Sapano Balabay. 8 Fulters after that. We've got 3 of those in Victor Luminati, Nal Nasser and Grant Sager. Rodrigo Bassola, Michaela Langmeyer, Scott Keach, all on the 12 faults after that. So, we're still playing Hunt the Clear at the moment. It's going to come, I know that. The question is how many, really, from that point of view. But in the meantime, let's see if it comes from this direction for the 21-year-old Hallie Grimes. Can we keep it? LLC of Texas's Chiqueto PS. Pairing been together 2 years now on this 12-year-old by Diablo Blanco. For Hallie, another one that rode with Missy Clark coming through in the early part of her career as well at Boston University. She's been dividing her time to there too, and last year Team Silver in the Young Rider Championships as well.
Yeah, she really took care of that vertical. Having been able to watch a few now, and whoever she's working with in the schooling area, I think really discussed that, and she really took care of that, as well as the B element of that double. I got to say, she's giving this horse a super ride so far.
Now this is the key part.
Well ridden in. Now she's got to kick and get to the back rail here. Yep, spot on. And again, you saw there, it's nice when you're riding a horse in a class like this with so much scope and so much bravery. She was able to really trust that Hermes Oxer, even with the Liverpool underneath it. So we're 2 from home. Come on, Hallie.
Getting close.
Oh, she did 6.
And that's where it didn't quite work.
Yeah, I don't know if the pressure got to her, but the last line, as we discussed just a couple of horses ago, I think it's 5 for everybody. It's actually riding quite easy, and she caught a slow vertical, and I don't know if at that point she decided to change her mind. Here we see it. Caught it slow, drifted left. And again, I don't know if she changed her mind or just totally lost count, but unfortunately a very hard rub at the last jump. That was a shame. The horse jumped a brilliant round.
But interestingly, talking about that line, I had a chat with one of the course designers looking at that. It does measure a long 5, but you'd expect at that point of the course to probably ride a long 5 from that point of view. There is an opportunity, but unfortunately that wasn't it to squeeze the 6 in there from that point of view. As you say, it's just riding nicely as the 5, and that seems to be where it's sitting.
If that line was 1 to 2 or even 3 to 4, I think it would ride quite differently.
Yeah.
But being that late in the course, coming home, the horse's stride has really opened up. I think even though it walks really long, the way these horses are covering the ground on this footing, it just becomes a normal 5 for everybody.
Chile's Jorge Madcaptivilla now also part of the recent Pan Am Games back into November, finished in the top 20 there, in fact individual 18th with Winning Good. Winning Good now 15 years of age. Many will be familiar with this horse by Winning Mood. Was placed in France last year as well onto their European tour there, and culminated, to say, in a good finish at the Pan Am's. Chile getting an individual spot there too, with Augustus Corribin jumping them in to get the spot to head to Paris as well. So there is one place there for the Chileans come July, August. And this is looking at confident start as well for the man who trains with Darragh Kenny.
Yeah, he's giving him a good ride. The horse has a lot of experience, with a couple other top riders represented Great Britain. Ben rode the horse as well. And, come on, back rail here. Horse gave a great effort, really stretched for the B element of the triple.
long-term partnership of this horse with Emily Moffat, but has got on well now with Jorge. Now, again, pressure of the final few fences. Time's looking good.
Yeah, he caught a good one for the 5.
Still looking for that first clear. Is it coming from here? It's not. It's not. It's 80.79, and it's going to be a 4-fault scorecard for Jorge Capdevila and winning good. Jimmy, what happens to a rider at the final fence? You've had it plenty of times.
You know, again, you get excited. You know, you're coming home. You've got one jump left, and you know, unfortunately, it can happen to any of us. I think he overcooked the 5. He caught a strong jump in and just got there too early in the 5. He had a lot of horse, and you can see there he just got too deep. You know, and unfortunately the excitement gets the best of us. We know we're working on a clear with one jump left and just needed to fit that in better. That was a shame. Again, a brilliant round.
Triple combination, handled that well, and let's see if we get a good schooling here from McLean Ward, the world number 9 with the Beechwood Stables. Callis, as you say, horse that he competed at the Nations Cup final last year, has championship credentials as well for this now experienced 16-year-old by Casal. And talking Pan Am Games, of course, he was team gold for Team USA, their individual bronze for McLean as well. Two US riders up on the podium, with Kent Farrington up in the silver medal position as well. They were a 5-star Grand Prix winning pair here last year as well, on to week 5, as we would put it, so basically into February.
Yeah, that was perfectly ridden.
What did he do differently, Jimmy, than some of those that have had errors there, would you say?
You know, he's just so good. He really squared that double up. He turned the corner. He thought time allowed for sure, but he really squared her up at that double. And again, he got across the front, but then he really thought about the B element. Whoa, whoa. Oh, that was a shame. You know, and again, as I said earlier, we're sort of seeing rails everywhere for everybody. I thought she came off the ground well. I thought he rode it well. Just didn't cover the back rail.
Just bringing it home on the 4. 4 faults is still the best score on the lineup at the moment. We're getting a few more of those now. McLean Ward is going to be in that group at 81.80. He's going to be conscious of the time there as well, because that might well make a difference for prize money later. McLean Ward at the moment, 3rd steadiest of those clears. The fastest, rather 4 faulters, the fastest 4 faulter, Richard Vogel, at 78.92. But even with the clears, they could still get in the money. Here it comes. Jimmy just drops in.
Yeah, you know, and I think he knew. You saw the look on McLean's face as he rode through. The mare got a little aggressive to the triple combination, and I think got him there just a little bit earlier than he wanted to, and then made a great effort at A, but then that made from A to B a little long. McLean knew. You saw him really squeeze and sort of grit with his teeth. I think he knew that was going to get long and just didn't get across the back of that.
Beer Manley of Switzerland, Decisive, 16 years of age now as well. Good experienced horse, terrifically experienced rider, Olympic medalist, stylish rider indeed. This is a pair that won the Washington President's Cup going back a few years now. Won a Grand Prix up in Ocala back in December as well, as more closer time form from that point of view. And this is another one you should watch closely, isn't it, Jimmy?
Yeah, he's always in perfect balance with the horse, jumps with ease. You know, he looks like he's going slow, but it just covers so much ground. He did the 9 like everybody from 1 to 2, and then he does the slow 8. And again, with so much scope, he actually trusted her there. He turned right in on that double, trusting her. He knew that she had so much scope and was going to get across the back rail with ease. And that was surprising. He ended up doing 7 to that oxer. We've seen mostly 6. And this horse has such a big stride. I thought he would have opted for that. But again, he knows what he's doing. He knows his horse.
I mean, the difference here, I was about to say the difference here is sitting on a 16-year-old horse, but both Callis and Desari at 16 years of age, both having the middle part. But what do you make of it, Jimmy?
You know, again, as I said, everyone's done 6 to that oxer. Maybe by doing the 7, he sort of got her a little bit backed up a bit, and you know, got off the hand and just didn't step up to the B element, you know, kind of like McLean's mare.
Going to leave them on the full faults at 82.90. Again, just the one down for Be at Manley. So he joins that club that they didn't really want to be a part of, but it is a bigger group now. 5 of them on the full faults. Be at Manley, the 4th quickest, if you like, putting it that way round, with Decisive. So Richard Fogel, the quickest of those groups so far. So 5 of them on 4 faults. And it's still a little elusive, but there a little look back at Jimmy from a different angle.
Yeah, again, it got quite long from A to B for him. I mean, the one thing I will say is, for our viewers at home and here, I mean, if, God forbid, we don't have a clear, we're going to have a serious jump off with the 4 falters. So,
I'm not really going in that direction, but
no.
Yes, you're right. We'd have Richard Vogel, McLean Ward, Be at Manley, Hallie Grimes would be in there, Jorge Matt Captivia. Yeah, it would be getting very serious. But yes, I mean, that is the rules, but I think we're going to get a 0 out of here somewhere along the line with the quality that we've got. Rupert Karl Winkelmann now of Germany, the Eikendorf horses, Calvados' son, a 12-year-old gelding for Rupert, who's been competing in Mexico. There was a super tour of shows down there in the 5 stars through the whole of the fall there, and then heading over to Wellington as we begin the big circuit in Florida as well for the German rider, spending his time on this side of the water these days. Now, he handled that line well.
He sure did. He's actually controlling every stride. I mean, he's really riding this horse. He's not leaving anything to chance. He's making sure he got across the A element. He cleared the B element. He's not leaving anything to chance. And again, you know, this has been a difficult line right here. We can't leave him long here. Oh, the horse really stuttered.
Now what do you do?
He's got to really leg it B here. This has come down a lot now. Yeah, that you know, funny enough, as the class has gone on now, and again, I don't know if it's the lighting and it's getting a little darker, but from A to B is riding a little long for the last several horses. So I think riders to come need to be a little bit aware. You can't just sit chilly there from A to B.
And in terms of that there, I mean, it's 11.5 meters down there. So again, it's not so short through there. There's a little bit of distance to cover through there, which means you're going to want some momentum coming down from 8 to 9 from that point of view. Going to put them on 12 plus.
You know, and especially you're coming off of a steady, very patient distance. That's a very, very patient 7. So now you've asked your horse to throttle down, sort of take the RPMs away, and now you've got to really make sure you get up to the B element, because it is riding. Here we're going to see he's asked his horse to slow down, got a sort of a soft jump in, and I thought he could have maybe ridden that a little bit stronger. You know, again, especially since we've seen it happen so many times over the last several horses.
But that's the difference when we look from that line from 8 to 9, so from that water tray down to the triple combination, you go, okay, we've got measurements on paper, it's 30 meters down there, that's probably the 7 strides, but the actual reality of how something rides is something slightly different, and that's what a course designer is thinking and aware of as well.
Absolutely, and it can ride different for every horse.
Yeah.
You know, everything is so horse specific. You know, and I say that a lot. You can't, because one rider runs down and does 7 in a stride, in a line, doesn't necessarily mean it's 7 for you. A lot of things are horse specific.
Todd Minicus and the Spirit Group's Kickapoo Spirit. Just a 9-year-old here for Todd. I think he's the winning most rider still here at WEF from that point of view. Pretty close between he and McLean. But winner of the WEF Challenge Cup here a couple of weeks ago from that point of view, back into the first week here. This horse wouldn't have the mileage. Todd has obviously got the mileage from that side of things. And really, at this point, he's finding out what he's got, isn't he?
Absolutely. You know, early on, Todd had to ride. The horse was a little sticky coming in the ring. Second jump got a little bit sticky, and I think he turned the corner, and he maybe ended up deeper than he wanted to 4A. But he knew, I've got to ride the back rail here. Green, as you said, this is only a 9-year-old horse, so he had to ride that, and he made him get into the front rail. And again, as we keep seeing here, A to B is just getting a little long, and he's going to call it a night with 2 down.
Yeah, decides to retire there for Todd Minicus and Kickapoo Spirit. Like we said, not got the mileage. The sensible thing there is, if we're just finding it a little bit too much right now, we're going to go back a step, we'll work it through, and that's always how a program tends to go, doesn't it? It's never always an upward trajectory.
No, and again, with so many weeks here, and you know, we've got 2 stars, and you know, you can, you know, bring your horses up and back down after you jump a 4 or 5 star, and you want to get your horse confident, you can give him back and jump to 2 star, and you know, that's the nice thing about this facility and what they offer here. There's so much offered, and you got to make sure your horse is confident walking into a big class.
Well, let's see with 18-year-old Tom Watchman now of our islands, and Belloc said the 13-year-old. For the 18-year-old who's ridden this horse through to Nations Cup last year in Spain, former ride of Simon de Lest of France by Berlin for the Coolmore show jumping. Great to have them aboard. The 18-year-old who's already notched up team gold last year in the Junior European Championships. He was a pony gold medalist before that as well. Trains with Cian O'Connor alongside his brother Max. Max has unfortunately been on the sidelines with an injury. Hopefully he's coming back in the next couple of weeks, and wish him the best. Now Tom is the younger brother taking the reins at the moment. Sister Alice competing here now as well. So there are Watchmans coming in all directions. But again, really nice young rider.
Yeah, they've really, we've seen them here for the last several years, and when they came here, they were young boys and just starting out in the lower divisions, and they've sort of just skyrocketed right to the top. And again, here jumping a 4-star, and as you said, his brother sidelined at this point, but we'll see him back. Light rub on the front rail there and has it down.
All right. Well, what you will say in terms of lightness out there isn't much that's being very forgiving to them.
No,
and that's the sport.
Unfortunately, that's the sport, and I say it all the time. I think these course designers are geniuses. They've got to build for a real mixed bag. Even when you build for a 5-star, the way the ranking system works here and the way the qualifying works, sometimes you're building for the #1 rider in the world, and in that same class you might have the number 500 rider in the world. So, that's quite difficult, but these course designers are so good. They've got a tough task for them. But, Tom doing quite a good job. And, if you just kind of look at the look on his face, I mean, he looks really at ease. He looks comfortable. He doesn't look nervous or worried. But again, the program he's coming out of with Cian in his corner, I think these boys are really going to go far.
Score of 8, 85-40, will add 1 for time there for Tom Watchman and Berloc said. Jimmy, being a teenager, does that help? You've got youth on your side. You've got JJ coming up right now. I mean, I'm sure he gives as much back to you as you can give to him. But, they have that youthful confidence in there.
They do. And, a lot of times the good thing is they don't know what can go wrong. And, early when you're young, you're relaxed, you're winning in the juniors, and then you just move up a step and you're very confident. And I think a lot of times as a young rider, that's really helpful because you don't know what can go wrong sometimes.
One who knows what it is to go right is Ben Mayer, the world #2 that goes now, and Ben with Fultic HB, winner of this class last year with Dallas Vegas Batty for Horse Today again, also for Pamela Wright and Charlotte Rossiter, and currently the world #2. Fultic was the horse he rode to individual 4th at the European Championships last year on this stallion by Baltic VDL, the 14-year-old, and Ben again rocketed back up to in the rankings, won in London the World Cup a few weeks ago, won in Verona, and again the ups and downs of the sport. He was riding here this time last year, won the Grand Prix, had a bad fall the week afterwards, was out for a large chunk of the year, and is now back in the #2 position. It's the grit of the people in this sport that's so admirable.
I would say probably nobody does it better than Ben. When you watch the style, the program, fundamentally no one is doing it better than him. He's got probably the best string of horses right now, in my opinion. He's got unbelievable owners with Pam Wright and Charlotte Rossiter. So that's the way the sport goes. You get confident, you win, you get confident, and it keeps rolling. So he's been on a roll. As you said, he had big wins, the fall indoor circuit over there in Europe. But when you watch him, he's one to really watch in the schooling area. We were watching him just a couple weeks ago and just doing everything exactly right. And you saw his horse gave a little look at that B element, and he dug in and got a little extra there, and hopefully this could be our first clear. This horse hasn't done a lot lately. He just got here and had one down in the qualifier the other day, and there's your first clear round.
There's your first clear round. Ben Mayer gives us #1 on the scoreboard. Not a huge surprise there from that point of view, but so nicely ridden, and we can use superlatives all day, but again it just comes out and it looks controlled.
It does. I mean, again, I not to reiterate, just fundamentally he's doing it as well as anybody. You watch the style, the technique. If you just sit back and watch the program and the way all the horses are going, And again, he's got an unbelievable string of horses.
And I'm also going to point out, he had a little touch at the first part of that double.
Yeah, but here's a perfect view. He knew this has been a problem. He really dug in. The horse gave an unbelievable effort at the B element and then came out strong over C.
Ben Mayer, clear round number 1. So unfortunately, Jimmy, your potential wish of the four faulters jumping off is not happening. Into second is Richard Fogel. Into third is Ahoy Madcaptivia. Into fourth is McLean Ward. Into fifth is Be It Manly, based on their times. That's how it sits now. And Hallie Grimes in sixth. Taking us to now Quentin Judge of the US, the Double H Farm, the Creel families, HH Medarco PS. Now, an interesting 10-year-old here that started together last year, because he actually rode the father of this horse, the previous stallion Messenger, from that point of view. Jump round for 4 faults in the Grand Prix, coming up to this point, stepping up to their first 4-star Grand Prix. Here, but 4 faults just the other week. So just again, like I talked about, one of those on the rise.
Yeah, and I think Quentin's gotten very serious. He's very fit right now. I would say the most fit he's been in his entire riding career. He's working, I believe, with John Madden. And he's gotten really serious. You see him really fighting here for that big oxer. And again, a horse with not all the experience. He's got to really help him here at B.
It drops.
Yeah, and that's just the horse not quite knowing the width. When Quentin, you saw him really leg him up to B, and the horse got quick and just didn't really finish behind. I think he rode it well, but the horses have to learn that as well. You talk about riders coming in and getting their feet wet and jumping the big courses, but it's the same with the horses. Unfortunately now it maybe unraveled a bit and he had a couple others down. But, all in all, not a bad round. That horse has to learn that triple combination, and maybe that's something you go home and you build, and that's just something the horse needs to learn and figure out.
Well, total of 12 there as a safe. Quentin Judge and HH Medarco PS going into their first 4-star Grand Prix together from that point of view. And again, you would take that away and say, okay, we've got some things to work on, but we've got some really good confidence coming out of that as well.
Absolutely, and that was a great angle and a good view. You saw Quentin, he did all the right things. He jumped in, he knew that the B element has come down a lot tonight, and he rode strong to it. And again, the horse just didn't know that test, and he didn't really finish behind, and that will come.
Ben Mayer with a clear on the scorecards so far. Only one to do that. Another of the young riders through, just 18 years of age too, is Zaina Rizvi now of the US. Exquisite Pachi for the Exquisite group of the US. The 14-year-old horse that won actually 3-star Grand Prix in Spain, going back to the tail end of last year as well, by the very good Vagabond de la Pomme. She herself has already notched up through 2021 and 2022, young rider and junior gold as well. Again, working with Missy Clark and with John Brennan there as well. And again, for her, she needs to and is getting that mileage.
Again, another one of the young riders. This is definitely the future of our sport. She will be on teams, as long as she has the backing and can find the horses. She's definitely one of our top riders. She's already went over and rode on a senior team in Europe. And John and Missy have done an amazing job. They took her as a young kid and brought her through the ranks and the equitation and the junior jumpers and the U25. And she's right in there in the thick of it with every top rider and riding just as well. Cool as a cucumber. She's got a kick to be. Wow, that horse made a tremendous effort at the B element. And this girl, what you see, riding is not all about being strong and being tough, and she's got all the elements. You've got to have some finesse, you've got to be tough, you've got to be strong. She got away with a great rub at that back rail, that oxer, which hopefully will bring her home. But this girl, she's got all the ingredients. Oh, and here's our second clear. Come on, get to the back rail.
There we go, and so Zaina Rizvi giving us clear round number 2 alongside the world number 2 in Ben Mayer, and there, delivers on what we've been talking about there too from that side of things. A good clear from her. Exquisite Pachi has a new horse into her string as well from Henrik von Eckermann. Looking forward to seeing that in the next few weeks as well. Jimmy, sum that up, because that was one of the key pieces.
Yeah, but again, one of the youngest riders, if not the youngest rider in the class, and she knew. She got in there maybe a little close into the A element, and she fought and she dug and she threw that horse over the B element. Okay, she got away with a little bit of a lucky rub here at the Lugano, and a lot of times it takes luck. You know, you got to get a little lucky sometimes, but well-ridden round, and you know, she is definitely one to look for. She will be riding on teams for years to come.
US rider Spencer Smith has also been in the team position for the Ashford Farms at Keeneland here. 11-year-old by Carmina Z for Spencer. Ashford State Farms, of course, based up with Kentucky and down here in Wellington. Finished at 7th in the 4-star Grand Prix here in December. Newer ride for Spencer from that point of view. Former rider Mandy Porter. And so we'll see. Again, this is a step up for them coming in here, but went nicely in December, which would be a slightly softer test than you'd expect.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big ask, but has jumped some great rounds with Spencer. He's got a lot of confidence. He's got a lot of experience now. What the horse is lacking, I think Spencer will give it. I actually watched this horse jump the qualifier the other day, handle it quite easily. Seems like every time he's gone in the ring, he's gotten better and better and better. We saw that orange wall come out a few years ago, and it was a problem. And you know, again, it's not even a problem anymore. The horses are so good and so solid and so confident that wall has really not even become an issue anymore.
Gets it through the NetJets.
Yeah, Spencer's giving this horse a super ride.
Now again, keep it together. They haven't been through this path before.
He opts for the 7 here to the careful plank. Stays on the inside track for 8 to set up the 5. Oh.
Gets it. So a new ride, looking like they're good straight out of the starting gates for Keeneland and Spencer Smith. 82.57 is the time, and we'll complete our first half of this $215,000 NetJets 4-star Grand Prix. Jimmy, let's have another look back here, because these two have really got to grips with each other.
Yeah, as I said, it seems like every time he's gone in the ring, he's gone better and better. I watched him back in December and jumped some nice rounds, maybe 1 down, maybe 2 down. And I think they're really gelling, and he's getting to know the horse, and the horse is getting to know and trust him. And the horse is jumping around here quite easily. This is a big course. So Spencer gave the horse just a brilliant ride.
Super stuff. And last fence there, 152, 175 in spreads. There's plenty on that. I say our arena crew are about to head in. We're going to take a few moments break as well, and hear from some of our wonderful supporting sponsors as well in the build-up. We're going to do a little bit of analysis of that first round as well before we head into the second half. And like I say, it's based on qualifying from both the speed class. We've seen those out the way, and then we'll see those from reverse order of the WEF Challenge Cup earlier on this week as well. Our thanks to our sponsors, to NetJets, and of course to Dodd Technologies as well. You can see the arena boards around the whole of this international arena. They supply those, but they are also one of the leading names in sport as a whole. Industry leaders providing creative design and technical support services for the sports, entertainment and special events industry, from NBA through to NFL as well. And our thanks to, of course, NetJets as well, who are our sponsors here. Private aviation transformed from routine to remarkable, personalizing every detail of your travel. And it's tough travel around here, but they make things smooth around for you. It's tough travel around for our riders jumping. Thank you to NetJets. Perfect job that they do, and they exceed not only their expectations but yours as well. Find your ideal travel solution at netjets.com. And so we take a breather for a moment. Let's hear from some of our wonderful supporting sponsors.
With NetJets, travel will always be personal. We do everything it takes to make every flight exceptional. Every single detail of your experience is personalized, just for you. As our standard is not just to meet our definition of perfection, it's to exceed yours.
Well, as you can see, some of the entertainment for the crowds there as well. What they are very good at here in Wellington too is being able to entertain and have big crowds in each week. We have something like 5,000 to 10,000 people in here on a Saturday night. Jimmy, it certainly makes for a huge atmosphere. And all of the ancillary entertainment, getting the kids in. It's great seeing so many young people here at these events.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, a lot of Wellington makes this a weekly event. And, you know, tonight being a 4-star, in 2 weeks we've got the 5-star. I think they know the big money classes, and they're starting to know the difference between a 2, a 3, a 5, and I think we're going to have some big crowds to come.
Certainly are. Well, let's take a look at some of those rounds from those already completed as well. First half of the competition already put together. And let's see, Richie Vogel here was the first of those to just have the 4 faults there. And that fence there is starting to get a handle on that. Jimmy, from that point of view. Jorge Matt Capdevila winning good. Some caught out by that final fence.
Yeah, I mean, you really could see it there. He just got there way, way too deep. Here we see McLean jumping into the triple combination. He knew that it was going to get a little long for him, and, you know, the mare maybe could have stretched a little bit. She's maybe got a little rust on her right now. Same thing, B. You really see the horse never stepped up to the B element. You saw it from a hind view, but you could really see that happening.
Taking a look with Rupert Carl-Vinkerman as well. Middle part of that triple combination coming down for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how many we saw do the same thing. You know, jump in, all have the back rail of the B element.
Some very good rounds put together in there as well. Reminder of the clears that we saw from Ben Mayer and Fultic, of Zaina Rizvi, and also of Spencer Smith. A little comment on those clears, but I mean, Ben's round, as you were looking at it, looked pretty foot perfect.
You know, again, you know, he's doing it as well as anybody in the world. He's riding with a lot of confidence, as he always has. You know, he's always had top horses, but I think right now he has set himself apart. He's in a, I don't know about a league of his own, but he's just got such an unbelievable string of horses. To be able to call in any one of those at any time is, you know, that's a nice luxury.
Those are the clears: Ben Mayer, Zaina Rizvi, and Spencer Smith so far. For Ben as well, again, like with so many of them, it's the team around you, isn't it? He's got a really good team around him, really good supporting owners. He's got Uli Kirchhoff, the 96 World Olympic champion, on the floor as well. And a little look at Ben's round here, Jimmy, and here through this triple combination for those that are coming up, what would you watch from that?
You know, again, he was in the same exact position that several of the riders were that had that jump down. I think he maybe dug in and fought a little harder, and the horse really responded. He really, the minute he put his leg, the horse jumped off his leg and didn't scope out there. And again, here's Zane, a young kid, same thing. She knew B was far away. She dug in and got it done, and the horse really got high in the air. And again, as we said, got a little bit of a lucky rub there. Probably held her and, you know, brought her home for the clear.
And also, of course, that from Spencer Smith and Keelan. Like we said, a new horse for him. Again, he mastered that early tricky line there here. And now they've got the measure of this Hermes fence too.
Yeah, but, you know, as you and I were talking, I mean, this horse just seems to be getting better and better and better. You know, and maybe he'll go up and down a little bit and make sure the horse is confident and to jump these big tracks, but that was well ridden on Spencer's part.
Okay, Ben Mayer, Zaina Rizvi, and Spencer Smith as the clears so far. Look, coming up for you. We saw you through that first lineup. Let's just remind you who's coming up in the second half. We've got the likes of Kian O'Connor. We've got Luciano Lossio for Brazil. Aaron Vale of the USA with Carissimo. We've got also Lily Keenan, Queensland, Shane Sweetnam of Ireland. Several of the world's top 20 in there, and it is going to be strong throughout. In fact, from the world's top 20, we've got 6 of the world's top 20 with us tonight as well. Shane Sweetnam, Kent Farrington, the world number 3. Then the latter part, of course, at those having qualified in reverse order for the Grand Prix here. And so Nicola Philipparts will be last to go of this lineup with Derby de Riverland. Dara Kenny goes penultimate with Amsterdam. Ashley Bond goes late in there with Donatello. Jimmy, we've got 3 clears on the board so far. I think we could be looking at 5, 6, maybe more.
Oh, for sure we're going to see more. You know, that was in the first group. We still got some great combinations to come. I think we're going to see more clear rounds. You know, for sure, as I said earlier, I think some of those 4 falters were hoping and wishing that, you know, maybe they were going to be coming back for a jump up. But the field is just so strong, and you look at the second half here. You got Kent Farrington, Ashley Bond, who's been on fire with Donatello, Derek Kenny on anything he rides. and Nicola was amazing in the first qualifier. So, you know, you look down the list, and there's so many good horses still to come. So I think we're going to get a good group from the second group of these.
Really interesting to see so far. And Jimmy, we mentioned a couple of the tricky parts we thought of the course. The Hermes fence was one of those, and we just see it in the shot there as they go past the in-gate there. But actually, they seem to be handling that well. We were a little concerned, you know, it's quite a long distance down to there. You've got plenty of space there really to make up your own mind, which isn't always the easiest. And you're going right past the in-gate, a little bit on the angle. But they've got it well worked out.
Yeah, I would say that the two places that were problem spots early on, fence number 3 with the fan, and that Hermes Oxer with the Liverpool underneath it, they've seemed to master. This double 4AB has really posed a problem, and again, obviously the triple combination, those seem to be two spots that you know, are having a lot of faults.
So Jimmy, you walked it.
I did.
And 3, that line as we're talking about down there, the double coming up there at 4A and B. You walked it. How would you ride it? What would be your strategy now for Jimmy Torano coming down there?
You know, if I was riding on my horse on Chewbacca, I'd try to stay off the front a little bit, ride in strong to make sure that I covered the back row. My horse actually jumps that Oxer vertical double very well, so I would try to make sure I didn't get in too deep to the front rail there. But you know, I think they've tried to ride it every different way. Some have had the front rail, a lot have had the back rail. And I think the more you start watching it, it starts to play a little bit of a head game as the class goes on. But it's a tough double. You turn the corner here, you've got the people in the crowd, you know, right underneath us, and it's right on the rail.
I'm sure you're looking forward to getting your sleeves rolled up and into action in the next few weeks, aren't you?
I am. Like I said, you know, my horse jumped quite well last Saturday night. I was happy with him. I had time faults, which I wasn't really bothered with. I was really trying to see where I was for the 5-star, and you know, looking forward to week 5 here.
Looking forward to that. And up goes the barrier, and our second half will get underway of this $215,000 NetJets 4-star Grand Prix. As I say, won last year by Ben Mayer, who defends the title here, but already those clears from Ben, from Zaina Rizvi, and from Spencer Smith. But a lot more salvos to be fired in this second half yet. Chris Ulanowski starting us back into proceedings with the Polo Jumps Condor de Valdercy, 12-year-old by quite easy. This gelding for Chris that has seen him through to several good Grand Prix finishes, notably in Lexington at 2 ends of the year, in June and in October, and also here in December as well. So it's just been coming through quite nicely to just start to settle into this level from that point of view. Chris Ulanowski then takes us into the second half with the likes of Cian O'Connor, Tyser Owen, Aaron Vale, right the way down to Tara Kenny and Nicola Philipparts. We've got plenty of meat to get into in this class yet, Jimmy.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the field is strong.
So Chris Ulanowski has digested what he's seen so far. How much do you think that if you watched those early few, as we talked about the errors at 3, etc., and went, okay, anything different, or are you sticking to your plan?
You know, for sure. I think they have figured out the third jump. Not that it's not going to come down a lot more tonight, but I think, you know, in Richie's case, I think he did the 9 strides and maybe got there an inch deeper than he wanted, and it you know, it probably caused the rail. But I think for the most part, it's 8 strides of that jump, and you've got to really think about protecting the front end here.
There we go. Got it. Now this is the next hard test early on in the course. Jumps in well. And actually interesting, I was about to say that fence hasn't fallen very much. Sorry, Chris, but it does for you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have seen that jump come down, and just cuts down the back rail and really kind of bellies that Oxer. I think he's thinking to really protect the front end, and the horse is really responding and maybe over-protecting the front end a bit. Horse has a super hind end. That was well done.
Moves up to this Hermes Oxer all right. And again, these last 4 now, they seem to have got a pretty good measure of this.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say free, but these are almost free jumps. This line has been ridden quite well for everyone. You can do 6, you can do 7, and either seems to work. And then you just got to realize the last 5 is short. You don't need to override that last 5.
Going to take him home with 8 jumping and 4 time there at 88.39 for Chris Jonowski. And so putting him on a total of 12 overall. He breathes out. What do you take out of that one, Jimmy?
You know, I think he realized he had the 2 early rails. You know, horse jumped super through this double. Then you see here he got there, but maybe held him off and just cut down on the back rail. And knowing he had the 2 early rails, I thought he was trying to finish on a nice round. And time allowed really left his mind. He was thinking just finish on a solid, positive note.
Yeah, through the triple combination, which they handled pretty well from that point of view. And on to Cian O'Connor now of Ireland and Pat Green's at Morris. 12-year-old for Cian that again has joined his string fairly recently. Former rider of Turkey's Omar Karayevli, who is a highly successful championship rider himself. They've been together since October of last year for the Irish Olympian. And again, you talked about Ben Mayer having a super string of horses. Cian O'Connor has certainly gone out and got some of the very best horses around. Great eye to get a horse for him and for the Watchman team. Little bit of work there.
Yeah, for sure. The horse got a little spooky, a little what we call a little squatty, but I think that's where Cian's experience came into play. He's a very, very strong rider when he needs to be, and I think the experience there took over. And for sure, he's gone out. He's bought a lot of horses. He's really making a play to put himself on the team for the games later this year. And I think he's got really more than 1 or 2 that hopefully we'll put him in one of those spots. You know, this horse has done plenty, but I would almost say he's being a little green. I think Cian is really just getting it done. He's a horse with a lot of talent, a lot of ability, but Cian is really holding his hand and making this happen.
Good round from Cian O'Connor and brings it home. Little flick at the end there. And so clear round from the Irishman gives us number 4 of the group so far. And again, really, they're just finding each other's buttons at this point, aren't they?
Yeah, I was glad. We're going to see a perfect replay of this. Horse got a little shifty, a little squatty there. Cian, cool as a cucumber, strong ride, held him straight there. And you know, as the horse went, I thought he thawed out. He started to get better and better. You see him there really let loose with the hind end. Again, here at the B element, super through the triple combination. And then here, very, very patient. He knew he was good on time. Took his time to that tall vertical coming home, and nice 5.
And it is number 4 of our clears so far. Cian O'Connor going clear alongside Zaina Rizvi, Ben Mayer and Spencer Smith. Erin Ballard now of Canada, the Canadian World Championship rider with the White Show Stables Coconut. 10-year-old mare by Coleman for Erin here. And again, the horse that hasn't had quite the same experience. Finished third in a Grand Prix up in Ocala, back to last year as well. Erin, World Cup finalist last year too. But for her, I mean, she's a wonderfully experienced rider, has that natural feel and ability, and comes through that line well.
And also a nice string of horses. You know, she's been riding for Alain Furter for a number of years now. Obviously, a top dealer. He sells a lot, but he has a real interest in being in the sport and being involved. And he's got some great horses for Erin to ride. So although they sell a lot and a lot come and go through their barn, he keeps some horses, and you know, right now the White family owning this horse for Erin, which is a real luxury.
Yeah, Erin, who had a good run at the tail end of last year as well, finished second in the Monterey 5-star Grand Prix as well. This is looking solid so far.
Ooh, again, got away with a hard rub there at the back rail.
But a couple of those that we've seen so far has just popped up in the cups, dropped back down again. Thank you very much.
Very similar to Zaina.
Yeah.
Time allowed.
Should just squeak there. 80. Ooh, no, doesn't. 2-time 86.37. So just behind on the time with Coconut and Erin Ballard. But like I said in the lead up to that one, Jimmy, she's really moving this horse up an area. So a little bit like what you talked about last week with your horse, she's probably in the same territory here, going, okay, we're probably happy with that.
I'm sure she's ecstatic. This is probably the biggest track this horse has jumped to date.
Yeah.
And you could see here and there she maybe wasn't the fastest. She ended up doing 9 to the skinny, and again held the her hand a little bit. But she's got to be very, very excited because I don't think this horse has jumped a track quite this big.
No, certainly the biggest in their lineup so far. Here down the final line for Erin. Nicely pops over the scallop rails there again in the plain colours and final fence. Let's go on to Brazil. Luciana Locio and her own Lady Louise Himon. And this is the 14-year-old mare. And for the Brazilian rider, again, a rider that doesn't always jump to everyone's mind straight away and actually should do a little bit more because she's been twice on the Nations Cup teams here in Wellington, and including finishing on the podium last year. One in Rio in December and a good Grand Prix there as well. World Cup qualifiers, she's had wins of those down in Sao Paulo before now, and again has been on the edge of the team for Brazil and jumped some really solid rounds.
You know, fortunately and unfortunately, the Brazilian team is so strong right now that, you know, as you said, you know, some of these riders almost get overlooked.
Yeah.
You know, they're so strong, but still, you know, they could almost start to field 2 teams. You know, that's how the U.S. was for so many years, and they are very strong right now.
Absolutely. Brazil there with Rodrigo Pessoa, of course, Stefan de Freitas Barsha, Marlon Zanatelli. I mean,
Pedro Vanas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to try and name everyone because I'll miss someone there, but I can probably name you 10 riders that could be in that group.
Yeah, this girl's a real fighter.
Yeah.
Oh, late in the 6th, but again, she dug in. You saw her go to the stick, a little encouragement. She's got to regroup here a bit. Regroup. The 7 gets easy. Yeah, running out of room. Kick. You better kick hard. Again, she's a real fighter.
Now hold it together for those final few fences. Sets up for the plank. What a nice shot to it. Just a little touch at it.
Yeah, we'll regroup here. Don't breathe. Don't breathe. Whoa.
Hold your breath. There we go. 79.91. Luciana Locio and Lady Louise come through. And I'd like to feel a little bit like I told you so.
Yeah, and again, you know, great horse, but again, that was a ride. I mean, she dug in. She fought when she needed to. She knew she was late in the 6th of the auction, but she dug in. She got it done. You know, there was work in places, but she really fought and got it done. Here we're going to see a perfect replay. She went to balance and then realized, oh, the 6 is getting away from me, but she fought hard, and then I got to say, the horse really responded.
Responded well to give us the 5th of the clears so far of this NetJets Grand Prix here tonight. Tyser Irwin of Australia was our leading international rider here onto week 1 as well. Rides for Michael and Wendy Smith of Middleburg, Virginia. World Cup winner in Australia, as she has been based out here in the US for some time now and has had bases around the world. Helita B is a 12-year-old mare by Emerald that she's going to ride tonight. Finished 4 in the 3-star Grand Prix here on week 1. Like I say, she had a good run into that first week as well. So has all the potential. Ben Mayer was the winner of that opening Grand Prix too.
This is a real up-and-coming horse. I've watched it several times. Big jump. You know, maybe jumps a little straight in the back, but jumps effortless. It's a horse owned by Mike Smith.
Ooh. Now she was really taking the pace off there and gathering back up.
Yeah, I think that the line before, she got drug a little too deep, so I think she was trying to leave a little space and almost held off the wall a little bit too much. And again, this horse probably hasn't had that much experience at night under the lights and looks a little bit up tonight.
They're doing a good job to keep them together so far. Just sitting on that 4. Whoa. Sure, we're just going to have the last fence down. Going to be 2 down for the 8 faults in the end, 80.77 for Tyser Owen and Helita B for the Australian. Last fence dropping amongst them. That's the turn up to the final line there as well. And Jimmy, let's have another look here, because they almost look as they got it.
Yeah, and you see the horse left the ground, and as it left the ground, it shifted left. And again, just that slight bit of the shift makes that Oxford that much wider, and I really think that's why she had the back rail. And the first rail she had inexperience. The horse, what we call it lit up tonight. I think if this had been a daytime class, you would have had a horse that was a little more settled. But again, they got to get in here, get under the lights, and get comfortable. But that's a real horse for the future.
And that's the thing of feeling atmosphere in the same way that you and I would walk out there during the day. It's quiet, and you're like, I'm not even thinking about this. You walk out there in front of a crowd, even just on your feet, and start feeling there's a few eyes around. It's different electricity.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Even the schooling area. Our viewers at home are not getting to see it. But there's so many people watching the class in here. But there's so many people watching even in the schooling area, and it gets busy out there and a lot of traffic, and the horses get a little bit undone.
US rider Aaron Vale now, and Debbie Smith's Carissimo 25, the 11-year-old, been together since September and coming together as a partnership, and have done very quickly, because they won the 4-star Grand Prix here back in December as well. Former rider Mavis Spencer due to be on the teams as well in the upcoming Nations Cup out in Abu Dhabi as well. And Aaron, as ever, I mean, he's a terrific horseman to then start working through and working this horse out pretty quickly.
Yeah, the horse hasn't been born that Aaron can't ride. I mean, he really can ride anything, any type of horse. And this is going to be a real combination for the future. He hasn't had it long. Oh, the horse got real spooky there. And I think Aaron's trying to come here and spend a little time down in Palm Beach. He's from Ocala and spends a lot of time and wins a lot of time there, but he's been working a little bit with Chris Kapler. I think the goal is to try to get on some teams, maybe even get shortlisted for the games. So he wants to get here and, be in the spotlight.
Just coming home on the 4 faults. Aaron just saying fixed. Look on that final fence. Just going to finish on the 1 down, 81.06 for Aaron Vale and Carissimo 25. It's certainly coming as a partnership, and it's already delivered as well.
It jumped a super round. I mean, when he turned the corner, the horse really spooked and sort of hesitated. Here we're going to see you saw him sort of dig in for a split second. I'm not sure that he was actually going to stop, but for a split second he really paused
and just said, "What is this?"
Aaron had to dig in, and the horse just didn't really come off the ground solid. But other than that, what a super round.
Well, Aaron Vale finishing just on the 4. Let's have a look through this line here that has been the nemesis of so far today. But Aaron handling that pretty well copybook.
Yeah, and the horse has always been a flashy jumper. When we saw it with Mavis, it was always a flashy jumper. I think now Aaron's getting the rideability down and having some nice smooth rounds.
24-year-old Natalie Dean now of the US, Akota M, her World Cup final horse for the 11-year-old horse that, again, is a youth rider. We've talked about those that are coming onto the teams for the next few years. This is certainly one in that group as well. On the Nations Cup team in Sweden last year in Falsterbo. She's been on the teams in Spruce Meadows before now. She won the U25 Grand Prix last week, part of that Brain Juice series, and finished top 4 with this horse in the 5-star Grand Prix here last year onto week 5 as well to kick off what was a big season. This horse has had a little bit of a breather and coming back into action now here as well. But this was the horse she actually jumped on the Nations Cup in Aachen last year too. So they've certainly got the scope and ability, and it's really about putting them back towards the top here, isn't it?
Yeah, and now she's working with Ben Mayer. So she's worked with the Lawnfurter for the last several years and did a great job, and as you said, jumped in Aachen on the Nations Cup team there, and now has made a switch and working with Ben, and again, another rider with a good string of horses, and has always ridden with a lot of confidence.
What do you see in her riding, her ability?
When I saw her, you thought of her as an amateur rider, and she did. She showed in the amateurs, and I believe maybe she still does do the amateurs and the big classes, but all in all, she's really become a professional. I mean, I got to say, she's serious. She's determined. She's got the backing and she's got the funding to get the horses, but she's 100% committed. She's in, day out. She's here working with the horses. And, again, she wants to stay at the top.
And she could well be there because she's going to get a clear here as well for Nat Dean and Cotrem. So Natalie Dean goes into that jump off as well, as we say. She's coming in with a well-experienced horse from that point of view. Beams from ear to ear. There comes that familiar white smile. And Natalie Dean will be in there against Ben Mayer coming into that jump off as well. 6 clears at this stage, this $215,000 NetJets Grand Prix. There you see down to the fence 3. They've certainly got that mastered now, as we said a little bit earlier on. But Natalie Dean is delivering on a consistent basis now.
Yeah, I think what she did in Aachen alone was a big deal. It sort of put her on the map. She proved herself there. She went to the best of the best. Aachen, obviously probably the best show in the world when you talk about outdoor shows. And she went there and she proved herself.
To Puerto Rico now, Vasco Flores, and 22nd individually at the Pan Am Games last year with this horse was a super step up for them. 13-year-old mare Cosmona by Cosmio. Actually was a horse with Gwyneth Babington before this and Gio Rinaldi in its production. Been together since April of last year. So to go from April to jump well at championships in October was a really good move forward and showed quick progress.
Yeah, that was a big step. And Vasco's, he's done a good job early on. He worked for Georgina Bloomberg and Jimmy Doyle, and now he's got a great opportunity with these 2 horses that he's got to ride in the big classes, and that was a big step at the Pan Am Games. He did quite well there.
Early error coming at that double once again, but now again we're getting the ride a little bit more forwards and going somewhere.
Yeah, she looks a little backed off. You've seen him kind of give her a little encouragement with the stick. Just gently touching her on the neck, and here we see again at the B element, and just cuts down on the back rail. But again, there he lands and sort of trying to get her off his leg. She's just a little bit backed off.
But again, is that a little bit of inexperience in this arena as well?
It could be. Obviously, the lighting, they don't know each other quite that well. When you talk about these night classes and the preparation that goes into it, it's totally different from the daytime. It's all, do I leave my horse fresh? Do I get my horse a little quiet so it's not spooky? So you got to sort of experiment a little bit. And, you might make a mistake. You might come in here one night and think, well, I had my horse a little too quiet. And I think, sometimes that's a good side to err on. You don't want to walk in here with a bear underneath you.
First part just drops down as well. He's joining a long list of those having that fence down, I'm afraid. But overall, a very good ride from Vasco and continues to build in the right direction. Yeah,
I mean, he fought all the way through here. We're going to see a perfect view of the triple combination. Again, a little encouragement there, and just didn't cover the back rail.
Belgium's Zoe Conter now, and Zoe with Dawa de Green Bay Z for the Stefek stables. Zoe, who heads out here on a regular basis each season for Wellington these days, alongside her sister Emily as well. And this 12-year-old horse for the 25-year-old rider. She finished well in the Mexican Grand Prix as well, was down there on that Mexican tour, as I say, into the fall, where there was a super list of 5 stars there from Monterrey to Jalapa and much more besides, of course, San Miguel de Allende in there as well. She's a past young rider medalist, but she's really now settling into the senior ranks. Had a really good run here last year too, Jimmy, to start building from that.
And again, I talked about Alain Ferder being a dealer. Her father, Stefan Conter, one of the biggest dealers in Belgium and all of Europe. And so many horses come through their yard. But again, he wants to have some top horses, and obviously some top horses for his daughters as well as his riders. Really into the sport, and now runs the Stefes Masters. Big show, and it's become a show that a lot of the Americans go to.
Well, Zoe Conter on the 8 so far. Really interesting class. Now we've been getting feedback from our social media channels as well. You're watching across the world as well. Make sure you tell them there where you're watching, what you think, things you want to know through the season as well, so we can give you some feedback on that too. So we want that interaction with you too. On the 8 at the moment, comes off the corner. Again, this will be a building round for her for this season. This is, again, a chance to just... This week's really one to get into. It's a big class in its own right, but as you say, then sort of say, okay, what am I going to do over the next few weeks with those 5 stars, Nations Cups and everything else coming up?
Yeah, and that horse really thawed out as the course went. Early on, she had a couple hard rails, the double here. And as she went on, it got better and better and better. She had a light rub at the plank, and that came down. But all in all, finished strong. I actually thought she rode that jump well, the skinny. She got there just like she wanted to. The horse just, jumped a little too low. And here we see coming home. I thought the horse was jumping quite well by this point. Just a light touch behind, and it falls down. But all in all, quite a good round.
Absolutely. Carly Anthony now. And Carly, the US rider with the portfolio horses, Heavenly W, the 12-year-old by Calvaro FC. Finished well, top 3, in fact, in the Socrates Grand Prix last season as well. She's had some super results on Jet Blue as well, which builds the confidence too. And this is a pair that were top 3 at the Hampton Classic in the Grand Prix qualifier, which, if I remember, you won that class.
I did. That was a nice win for my horse.
Exactly. Carly, congratulations to her as well. I think just got engaged as well to Jeff, so congratulations. Carly Anthony, what have you... She's got 2 really good horses. She's got a good string around her at the moment, but 2 really horses taking it to the top at this stage.
She does, and she's done a great job with both of these horses. This is a horse that was actually previously ridden by McLean. Both of her horses, actually Jet Blue as well. She's done a great job. This horse seems to really like her. Jumping some big classes. Riding with a lot of confidence. She was always a good junior rider coming out of Seattle, riding with her family there. Her mom was a big trainer there in Seattle, and now really spending a lot of time on the East Coast, has a great owner and a good group of horses.
This tricky alley line, handled well.
Yeah, she did that quite well, and I got to say, Peter obviously had a whole plan there. Very, very short to the triple combination, and then the B element getting so far away, and it really has played a part for so many combinations tonight. Oh, she's got time faults.
Yeah, time allowed of 85. She's not. It's not going to happen, I'm afraid, but it's a nice round overall. She's shuffling for the line now, but it's 85.98. It's going to put her a second over. 1 time fault there for Carly Anthony and Heavenly W. Just see it, as you say, coming into that final line. Just the clock was getting ahead of them. But again, as you can see by the smile on her face, she's certainly not disappointed with that.
You're so happy for the horse, but you're so discouraged for yourself. You know that you maybe when you talk about fractions, she was just barely over. So she's so happy for the horse and her owner, and just discouraged that she just had that 1 time fault.
Good stuff to come for Carly Anthony. He's going to put her into 7th place as it stands, though, of course, with those 6 clears at the moment. So just going to miss out on being in the battle to come. Lily Keenan now of the US is our 33rd in the order of 45 that we'll see in total. As I say, we're going in reverse order now of those that were the top 35 from the Grand Prix qualifier earlier on this week, the WEF Challenge Cup, the Adequan sponsored class. Lily with Chancenet Farms, Queensland E, horse with plenty of experience, 15 years of age now. Spent quite a bit of last year on the sidelines, but has been jumping back into action in Thermal back into December. And Lily, who had a good start, finishing well in the first Grand Prix on week 1, finishing in 4th place there with Agana, should set her up nicely for last year's 5-star Grand Prix winner in Ottawa and the previous year, with this ride going on to win in Monterey for her first 5-star Grand Prix. And there it didn't go quite so well, and she did a good recovery after that.
Yeah, I mean, the horse sort of fell out of the air there at the B element, and then she rode up and ended up doing 5 strides in the 4, I believe. This is a former ride of one of the other commentators, Danny Goldstein-Waldman. Yes. Well, I'd love to see a replay of that. That was very odd. I thought Lily got in there well, and the horse kind of, well, as I said, he kind of fell through. Yeah. Fell through B, and I believe then had to add to stride.
Rest of it looking good.
Yeah, as you said, a lot of experience, jumped all over the world. Lily won a big class on this horse, and you know, did so much with Danny as well.
Going to come home nicely on the 4. Apart from the blip, which we'll take a look at in a moment, that should give them confidence to really get back in action here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I thought Lily gave it a great ride. I mean, I thought she jumped in there fine. Not sure what happened. Here we're going to see a replay. Jumped in. Yeah, you know, I'm not sure. It just didn't leave the ground solid, and then kind of ended up chipping in there. And in 5, she was still thinking 4, as anybody would have, and just didn't step up, but still got over the auction. That was very, very strange. I thought Lily gave it a good ride.
Finished strong, and so it will leave them with just the 4 faults there for Lily Keenan and Queensland E from that point of view. Shane Sweetnam. World ranked number 12, as you can see on your screens. Otis Blue is a 10-year-old by Jaguar Van Pemel. Actually been together since September of last year. Jumped already into the 150 classes for clear and 4 in the jump-offs. Have got some solid starts for them, but again, not too much experience between this horse and rider for the Irishman riding for VoQuest. Of course, Shane Sweetnam, plenty of experience, having been through to medals last year and also won the National Horse Show Grand Prix there for the World Cup qualifier, but with this grey that started with Kasper Hansen of Denmark. So again, for Shane here, this is a nice little step up with this horse to see what they've got.
Yeah, as you said, a new ride for him. You know, I think he was sort of getting to know him during the fall indoor circuit here. Showed him at, I believe, Washington and the National Horse Show. And he seems to have figured out the buttons here. Horse jumped just a super round in the class on Thursday. Clear, I believe he didn't come back for the jump off, save him for tonight.
Shane likes a grey.
He does.
He's got some good ones. Still clear at the moment. Again, another consummate professional putting polish on the round here very nicely. Ooh, and that's just dropped. And he had that look as he came out the corner of just then wanting to put a bit of work into it.
Yeah, the horse maybe dropped behind him a bit, and he came out of the corner and he rode strong, and just the horse sort of jumped into that front rail. A shame. Jumped a super round. Big jumper.
Shane Sweetnam and Otis Blue here, another look. But you could see by his reaction, it was the reaction sort of 4 strides out from there, 3-4 strides out, that was where you sort of suddenly got the concern.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like everywhere he was really at ease and trusting the scope and knew the horse was jumping well. And I think when he turned the corner there, the horse just sort of held off and he had to dig in. And, you know, maybe the horse overreacted to his leg and just jumped into that front rail.
Step up for Otis Blue, and still pretty good on the exam card for them, and we'll just leave them on the 4 fault. Shane Sweetnam going into 11th place so far. We've got 6 clears at the moment, and looking for another one maybe from US rider Margie Goldstein Engel. And the Gladewinds Farms Decas, 15 years of age now, this horse. Plenty of mileage together between these two. 9th last time out of the Grand Prix in December here as well. They finished top 6 in the World Cup qualifier in Washington and put plenty of wins together. She had a good start onto week 1 as well, finishing in the top few there. But the big horse with a lot of talent.
Big horse with a small rider. But, you know, Margie's well, that was a shame. Horse just kind of shifted off the ground there and had it down. But this is a very, very careful horse. Jumps a lot of clear rounds. Beautiful round in the WEF on Thursday.
And just here into the round, just getting as good a round as they can together. The 4 faults can still leave them in the money. So again, they could be a little bit conscious of time going through the round as well. Hops through that NetJets combination without too much stress from that point of view.
Yeah, Margie's as tough as any of them. Always has been.
Former winner of the Rolex Grand Prix here in Wellington before now as well. And shakes things up down to the last. We'll get her home on the 4 fault, 79.71 with Decas. And the way she rides there, Jimmy, and we'll see that a little bit in the playback here of that as well. How much of it does she just trust Decas's scope there? Because she's saying, okay, well, come back to me, and then saying, okay, it's all right, you've got the big jumping ability to get over these fences.
Yeah, and I think what she really trusts the most, she really trusts his carefulness. You know, he shifted there, and when he went to shift, she went to hold him straight, and that's where the rail came into play. But I think what she really trusts in this horse is the carefulness. You see her here sort of jazzing him up and riding up to that jump, and she never really has to protect the front rail. He's very, very careful.
Well, Margie there also going to be just missing out on the 4 faults with Decas. Still holding at the 6 clear rounds as part of this NetJets Grand Prix so far. Kent Farrington now top 3 in this Grand Prix here last year with this horse, Tulane. 10 years of age now for this mare by Toulon, who really flew round. If you haven't seen it already, their round in Geneva a few weeks ago was in about 6th gear, never mind 5th gear from that point of view. They had a wonderful win there, which was great. Really put this horse on the map for the rest of the world for the world number 3. Owned by Kent and the Rabbit Root Stables. Finished 7th in the opening Grand Prix of the season so far, but of course Kent, a many-time big winner here, and could well be a big danger here tonight because they would go a little bit later on in the order.
Yeah, this is a unbelievable mare. Super, super careful. She's not very big, but as you said, that win in Geneva was unreal. And if he does get in the jump off, look out, because she's fast, fast. He does 7 here. Ooh. She got extra careful at the wall, and I'm not sure what the plan was, but he opted for 7. I think that was the right choice. He had to do that. Gets into the triple just right. Mare's a real fighter. You know, maybe what she lacks in scope, you know, she just makes up for in everything else. She's such a fighter.
And that is the big thing. You so many horses that you see, it's heart that gets them to the win more than anything.
Absolutely. Oh, that was a shame.
Because very few have had that.
Yeah, I think he turned the corner a touch early, and he ended up jumping it right to left, and again made it just a smidge wider than it needed to be.
Well, it's a duel we're going to hold out on for a little bit longer into the season. 82.91, 1 fence stand for Kent Farrington, Tulane. Will be really interesting to see that horse going up against the likes of McLean Ward's rides, Ben Mayer, when they really roll their sleeves up. But they're just finishing on the 4. What do you make of that one, Jimmy?
You know, that was a hard angle. It still looked like she maybe was jumping in a little right to left. She got off to the left corner. And, you know, just that little bit makes the oxer that little bit wider and just didn't cover the back rail.
So Kent Farrington out of the running, and still leaves us with the 6 clears. Luciano Losio, Nat Dean, Spencer Smith, Ben Mayer, Keane O'Connor, and Zaina Rizvi in the clear list so far. Francis Nina Maleve now, the 23-year-old, with Cartier SR, the 12-year-old, gelding by the ride of Cantorente for the Rain family. And they're in North Carolina, and they've been terrific supporters of Nina. And again, I picked her out in the run-up to this class as maybe a big round to come out of her. She got some good confident rounds here last year as well for the young French rider. And for them, last year she had a really good exposure of the big classes, jumping on the Global Champions Tour as well. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out for her on this grey today.
Yeah, great rider. Obviously, unbelievable owners with Mark Rain and the Rain family, and then working with Nick Skelton. You know, she's sort of, again, all the ingredients when you've got the owner and the horses, and then you're working with someone like Nick Skelton, you know, Olympic gold medalist team, individual. You know, she's going to go far in this sport.
She seemed to hit that one pretty well.
Yeah, she's giving the horse a good ride. She ended up doing 9 early on to that skinny. I think she's maybe good on time a lot. I questioned it when she added the stride there, but
should be okay. Now, final line. Oh, little touch there. Come on, Nina, prove me right at the start of the run-up in the preview. Yes, she does. Nina Malave and Cartier SR. That's why we picked her out. It is a clear for her, 84.63. Got a little close on that time, but as you say, just worked it enough later on to make up that early 9 strider that she dropped into the equation. But that's where you've got to play your hand, play your cards. Gives us the 7th clear. Jimmy, what's your expert assessment?
You know, great ride. I think we're going to have a super jump off. We've got some, fast horses. We've got, okay, again, it's shame, early on we lost McLean. We just lost Kent in that jump off. But, I think although Ben's horse is just starting back, big money tonight. I think he's going to give it a go, and I think we're going to see a great jump off.
And I think some of those names, well, I know we're going to see those names in battle as well, in some of those 5 stars to come through the season. So this is a really good opportunity for a few others to get their name into the limelight. A pair that have done that plenty of times. In fact, they won 2 World Cups when they really first came back together, back in their early partnership. Benny's Legacy and Adrian Sternlich for the Starlight Farms horse that was produced with Jenny Rankin of Ireland. Now at 16 years of age, Benny's Legacy with the World Championship rider. Horse that took a break through the summer of last year, but back into action here. And jumping into the 4-star big classes here in Wellington. A previous winner of the Grand Prix actually in 2022 as a partnership. Another one to have that line down.
Yeah, when she turned the corner from the different angle, it looked like she was getting there too close, and then head on it was hard to tell, but I think she got there a little bit too close. But as you said, what a horse. I mean, he won so much, won back-to-back World Cup qualifiers on the West Coast.
Good through there. Nice rhythm through there.
Yeah, she rode that well. And he measured that. He didn't really open up behind there, but he measured it well. He knew exactly what he had to do.
Just sitting on the 4 for Adrian Sternlich again. Looking to go into those money positions. Just on the tail end of it, Richard Vogel was the quickest of them, but unfortunately that's going to put pay to that. It's going to be 2 down for them. And again, they join a long list of those that have had that early double down at 4. And then 1 into the final line takes them to 8 faults overall for Adrian Sternlich at 85.55. So let's add on 1 for time as well. Score of 9 as the final target.
But really doing it as well as ever. I mean, again, probably got a little bit close there, but the horse jumped around, relaxed, and with these, he looked quite. And again, I thought maybe that green vertical coming home here, we're going to see it right here.
So Adrian Sternlich not going to quite make it in there. We'll see more of her through the season. Amy Miller and the ride for the Canadian comes up as Truman for the Millbrook Farm and Overland. Nations Cup appearances last year at Spruce Meadows and Vancouver as well. Team Silver at the Pan Am Games. This is a partnership with this 15-year-old gelding that's well established now. And again, consistency has been their watchword, Jimmy. This is one to keep an eye on tonight.
This horse seems to be getting better with age. The more he goes, the more clear rounds he jumps. He gets better and better and better. Obviously she's got a lot of experience behind her, and with her father, Ian Miller, being her trainer and the chef now for Canada, I think that's a big plus.
Certainly a big plus for the Canadians. Came out well getting their qualification for Paris at the Pan Am Games as well with that Team Silver. And you can see she really plots her way around with this horse.
That was unfortunate. It almost looked like she was trying to shave in on that vertical and put a little curve in the 7 to give herself a little more space.
Another one joining the list of those on the 4, which was the score du jour to start off with here tonight as well. Time-wise, they've been handling it well overall for this course. They extended the time allowed to 85. She's going to drop that fence as well. And leave her with 2 on the floor, 8 faults to 81, 16 for Amy Miller and Truman. Going back to that point, Jimmy, we went from 83 seconds. We haven't touched on this earlier. 83 seconds to 85. Do you think they gave them a little bit too much breathing space there, or do you think actually it's played out quite nicely? I mean, we're still only sitting at, what, 7 clears. It's actually worked.
Yeah, I can't talk because I had time faults last week, but I think he was maybe a little generous. I think he probably could have kept it where it was, especially when you talk about the likes of Ben Mayer and McLean and Kent. I think they were all comfortable, but, maybe a little generous. But, again, we only, I believe, we have 7 clear.
7 clears.
So, in the end, he's going to get a great jump off and a good number, even if we have a couple more in the last group. I think he's got a good group.
Jacob Pope and Highway FBH for the Highway group have certainly been going down the right road in the last 12 months as they've moved up a gear. They were on a winning Nations Cup team in Denmark last year, started back in 2022 as a partnership from that point of view. They've been on Nations Cup in Spain, in Portugal. We've seen them very consistent in the WEF Challenge Cups here as well, and big over that triple combination, Jimmy. It's been a nice combination that we've seen developing and developing.
A lot of results. I mean, everywhere he's gone, as you said, he got to ride on the team, and he's won a lot in Traverse City during the summer.
Yeah.
That was very, very uncharacteristic. This was a very, very careful horse. Maybe overjumped the A element and got up to B too early.
And it's been really interesting for Jacob because he was at one point sort of predominantly in the Hunter Ring. I interviewed him on WEF Weekly the other week, and as he talked about in Traverse City at one point last year, he won the Hunter Derby and the Grand Prix in the same day, so he can turn his hand to both. But this is a new level for him in terms of the jumping.
Yeah, and I got to say he's done a great job. I mean, he's taken it on well. Working with Ivan Rakowski and got a couple nice horses to ride. But this one in particular, this is just a super horse to have. I think a little long there and just has the back rail, but although tonight's not his night, this horse is going to continue to jump a lot of clear rounds, and he's going to win a lot.
Going to get home with the 8 faults at 80.70 for Jacob Pope and Highway FBH. 2 down this time, but again, it's again a progression, isn't it, as they go in the right direction?
And it's tough. You come out of this ring and you think I had 2 down, but your horse actually jumps quite well. A lot of times and most times the score doesn't really reflect your round. And for the most part, you can be very happy with a 4-fault round tonight. I think there'll be riders that aren't happy, but a lot of times you think my horse jumped really well. I had a light rub, and it was just unfortunate.
And the difference is coming in, say, a Ben Mayer at this point that's been jumping, right the way through to the Olympic champion. Jacob and this horse, together, everything they do is new territory.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's a little daunting as well. But also they've delivered.
And again, at this level, he's only got 1 or 2 horses, and you take a Ben Mayer and McLean Ward, Ben's got a string of probably 8 that he could jump at this level.
Yeah.
So, again, that's a real luxury.
Well, another one with a very good string of horses around her and well-deserved is Tiffany Foster. This with the Artisan Farms and Kent Farrington's Battle Cry. And a horse by, again, the former World Championship winning stallion, Vigo de Sway. And a quick dancer. Does that translate into swift movement around the jump off course? We'll find out for this 10-year-old. The one at Spruce Meadows back in July of last year. And finished 4th in the WEF Challenge Cups previously before now as well. So they've had some really good runs. And just on the cusp of this horse again, 10 years of age, Jimmy, and we've said this a lot in the last couple of weeks because we're talking 9-year-olds that are still really 9-year-olds from that point of view. But Tiffany's pretty high on this horse.
She is. I mean, this is probably, you talk about the games coming up, and I think this is a horse she has in play. She's probably she's thinking to go with Figor, but this is another horse that can maybe do it. And, again, great owners. She's got Artisan Farms and the Ziegler family that have been great supporters of Tiffany over the years. And then also Kent Farrington still has a hand in ownership in this horse, which is always nice as well. But she really, really is high on this horse.
Nice pace so far. And you can see there, you talk about the difference between what happened to Amy Miller and what happened to her. She got right out there and rode it very differently.
Funny you mentioned that. I was thinking the exact same thing. She looks like she's so on the time that she was able to go out and square that up, where Amy sort of shaved in and jumped it a little bit left to right, and I think that's maybe why she had it down. But Tiffany's been very, very prompt. Yep, another clear super round.
Gets home with a smile on her face as ever. 8th clear round going to Tiffany Foster and Battle Cry. And again, beaming with that. Again, this is a horse that's moving into new territory. Like I say, did very well at Spruce Meadows last season. Again, that's a good test there as well, but it's another step in the progression. And here, even a little move in there.
He sure did. You know, he's so careful that it didn't affect him, but as he left the ground into that double, he definitely shifted right. But and he does it. He has a little bit of a right drift, which every once in a while maybe will catch up to him. But Tiffany's really on top of that.
Final 4. And Ashley Bond now. The Ashley Bond show jumping's Donatello 141. The 13-year-old now that she took to the Olympics to finish in 11th place with. Grand Prix winners here in Wellington before now. And finished 2nd at the American Gold Cup. You would hope should handle this all right.
She's got a lot of experience. She knows this horse. Oh, that was a shame. Right off the bat has an early jump down.
Now, for them, they're always moving quickly. Is that a little bit of a disadvantage there?
That's sort of the way this horse goes.
Yeah.
I would say 9 times out of 10 he wouldn't have that jump down.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the way he goes. He's a fast mover. If it's an option line, she would normally add a stride. It's a shame. If we were to have her in the jump off, she'd be one to watch because she is extremely, extremely fast. Ooh, kind of struggled a little bit through the B element.
So another of the big dangers in that group so far goes by the wayside. This is one to always watch into a jump off. But looks to be finishing strongly.
And I think she kept going. She knew she had a couple down and she was out of it. But, sometimes you got to jump around there, get the rust off. This horse probably hasn't been doing that much since he showed in thermal, back in early December. And she thought, you know what, let me keep going. Let me, let him thaw out, get the rust off, and have him ready for the next class.
Going to put them on a score of 8 this time for Ashley Bond and Donatello. Holding at the 8 clears now. Tiffany Foster, the most recent of those. Luciana Lossio, Natalie Dean, Nina Malave, Spencer Smith, Ben Mayer, Keane O'Connor, and Zaina Risby as the clears so far. Here's the turn back, Jimmy.
Yeah, it was hard to tell because it was head on. Maybe she got there a little deep, but this horse, again, she likes to ride him right up to the base and is very careful.
First the 3, 2 of them for Ireland and 1 for Belgium. David O'Brien first of the Irish representatives. The Chanzonet Farms and Leap Year Farms El Balou. Chanzonet Farm sounding familiar. Yep, that is the farm of Lily Keenan, the Keenan family. But he's ridden this horse for a long time for them. Lily rode this very briefly, but actually has been with David for a good few summers now. 12-year-old horse. And actually won in Traverse City in August as well. And it's interesting all the way through there. It just went for David and okay, well that's where we go. Goes through there well.
Yeah, I think once Lily gave it to him, she was maybe having a little trouble and gave it to David and sort of let it sit. And he's actually done quite well with this horse.
Through, no, doesn't get through the middle part. What would we do differently, Jimmy?
Again, this horse, another horse, has a little bit of a right drift. I think, I only got to see it once. It almost looked like, he maybe trusted the scope a little bit too much. It's a hot, bloody horse, and I think he was maybe afraid to put too much leg there. I'm sure we're going to see a replay of that. Maybe we can get a better shot at it. But for sure, he's got a little bit of a right drift and made the oxer a little wider than it needed to be.
Finishes on the 483.09 for David O'Brien and Zel Ballou. What are the positives?
You know, all in all, that horse is very solid. He's going consistent. He's having a lot of good rounds, very good in the WEF on Thursday. And I think David feels very, very comfortable with this horse now.
Yeah, obviously went well, was top 3 there because they were third from last going into this order. That's how the orders are going to work this year. Another look back, Jimmy?
Yeah, sort of what I said. I think he maybe really trusted the scope. The horse is a very hot horse, and he's always on the go. So I think he trusted that the horse was going to sort of take over there at the B element, and he maybe trusted him a little bit too much.
2 left to go. Dara Kenny now back to our world's top 20, 17th in the order now. And Vlok Show Stables, Amsterdam 27, this 14-year-old that was ridden right the way through to the Olympics. Horse that was jumped lightly last year and was the former ride of Teddy Vlok, who's still the owner for the Vlok Show Stables. Teddy's gone on to various other business interests now. And it's a super horse that was produced with Mario Delorier, and now just steadily on their trip back to the top.
Yeah, I think he's using him sparingly. A real classic jumper, just a beautiful type, blood, and he's light, and perfect technique. And then again, you've got one of the top riders in the world riding him. There's also as good as it gets. That was interesting. He's sort of set up the 7 and was able to ride in the A element and maybe got in there too much and I believe he had the front rail of the B element.
Yeah, that's confirmed. Could just see that going up. We'll have another look at that. Going to come home on the 8 faults, but as I say, it's a building combination back together into the big flight this year, 79-29. Going to be a little bit of mixed emotion with that.
Yeah, you saw the look on Dara's face. I think he a little disappointed, but not really in the horse. I think, as you said, he's bringing him back slowly. The horse jumped a good run. He was able to really balance here and actually able to ride in over A. You see there.
Yeah.
And the horse really covers the distance and gets into the front rail of the B element. That was a perfect view and a perfect angle. And then I think coming to the last line, the horse got a little sideways on him and just, I believe, trailed his hind end and had that down.
Another look down.
Here we see another view. Again, boom, you see there at the last ride he was able to sort of attack, and the horse really, really ate up the distance.
And that's the thing, you're coming in with pace, you're coming with impulsion. And the danger is, as you say, you get all of that and you go, great, but that's the whole point of that line sitting there, to say you just can't come on with too much.
No, Peter definitely had a plan.
Nicola Philipparts is a man with a plan. He's our last to go. He won the WEF Challenge Cup, obviously, to be in this position. He was second in the Grand Prix last week as well. And with Derby de Riverland has been a super horse for him. Was actually jumped by his brother Thibaut in production. But he rode this horse to win the BMW Masters at Mechelen indoors back in December as well, not too long ago. But Thibaut last year was jumping this horse in Deauville as well. And again, Nicola Philippart spoke to us on WEF Weekly this week as well. If you haven't watched those already, you can go over to Facebook for WEF as well and watch those back. We had a chat with him about this horse, and he's very keen on this, and they've really shown brilliant consistency, because we saw second in the Grand Prix. Unfortunately, a fence there from that point of view. That's a shame not to see them in it, but this is going to be one of the combinations to really watch this year.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I thought he rode that line well. Oddly enough, he had the front rail, and not like Dara. The horse didn't really step up, you would say, didn't really use its scope to get to that B element, and just didn't finish. Had the front rail, I believe had the front rail behind.
Going to leave him on the 478.09. Fast 4 goes just inside the money into 11th place for Nicola Philipparts and Derby de Riverland, so he's not going home empty-handed. He's the fastest of the fours. Carly Anstey will slot into 9th. Erin Ballard in 10th, but let's have another look here, Jimmy, into this triple combination.
Yeah, he got in good. Yeah, and like I thought, had the front rail, hooked the front rail with the hind end.
Here we look back at the early double. Got this right, just gave it a little roll in the cups. Nicola holding on good form, just one down. I say gets him a few dollars for the night, but not quite the full complement that he would have wanted. So those are the clears. Ben Mayer will kick things off with full tick. Zaina Rizvi of the USA, Spencer Smith with Keeneland, Cian O'Connor, Violent in there with Morris, Luciano Lossio, Lady Louise, Natalie Dean of the USA, Nina Malave of France, and Tiffany Foster completes with Battle Cry. Jimmy will give some full analysis of that in a few moments' time as well, of what that looks like. But a really interesting lineup for those coming up into the jump-off as well. And those are our jump-off qualifiers. Lots to see in there. Really interesting first round. There's Peter Grant just striding across the arena as well in the blue blazer. But Ben Mayer has a task ahead of him as the first to go. He won the opening Grand Prix of the season onto WEF1, or opening International Grand Prix anyway from that point of view. Can he wrap things up here? But he's going to have quite a battle there with some real youth in the field. Zaina Rizvi to take a shot at him, and Natalie Dean of the USA, and the experience of Cian O'Connor and Tiffany Foster in there as well. And France yet could raise the flag here in Wellington. All of that coming up for you in a few moments' time. And so we're going to hear from a few of our sponsors and a few thank yous as well. Thank you to NetJets too. And of course, like we say, you can follow all of this too on the USEF network as well as you can the WEF weekly shows. And remember, when we get to the 5-star shows as well, we will be bringing you a Grand Prix run-up program as well. We're going to have it absolutely packed for around about an hour or so in the run-up to the Grand Prix too. So that is going to be stacked with some stars to give you all you need to know about what is the big players, how it's going to play out here in Wellington each week for those 5-star Grand Prix as well. So join us on USCF Network, and our thanks to US Equestrian. We're back from that just in a few moments' time. We're going to reflect on that first round after we hear from some of our sponsors.
With NetJets, travel will always be personal. We do everything it takes to make every flight exceptional. Every single detail of your experience is personalized, just for you. As our standard is not just to meet our definition of perfection, it's to exceed yours.
Like this.
Well, coming back and readying for the jump-off of this NetJets Grand Prix, our thanks to Dodd Technologies, who are also our supporting sponsors for the streaming each week for all the classes that we bring you throughout the Winter Equestrian Festival, not just Saturday nights, but again over the weekend. We'll bring you the MS 150s, the 2-star Grand Prix, the WEF classes as well. Thanks to Dodd Technologies, who have been a part of top sport, whether it's the NBA, NFL, IndyCar, FEI World Cup finals for over 40 years now, and keep delivering as well. And great to have them aboard as part of the Winter Equestrian Festival. NetJets, private aviation transformed from routine to remarkable, personalising every detail of your travel. And NetJets Standard is not just there to meet their definition of perfection, but also yours as well. You can find out your ideal travel solution at netjets.com. Well, those that travelled well around this course have a 0 score, and we're going to take a look at a few of those as well. Jimmy Torano alongside me. Jimmy, it came with a A+ for Ben Mayer to start us off.
Yeah, it really was as expected. One of his top horses. I think he thought Thursday he was maybe a tad rusty, but the horse really came in his own tonight. Ben gave him a super ride, and everything was just perfect.
So Ben Mayer will kick things off into the jump-off. After that, it is to Zaina Rizvi, the 18-year-old of the US. And this one, a little bit of a work to do there in the triple combination, but definitely impressed, Jimmy.
Yeah, as I said, Zaina's one to watch in the future. We're going to see her on a lot of teams, and she really dug in. The horse hesitated at the B element, and she dug in and made it happen, and a little rub at the Lugano. Okay,
taking a look then at Spencer Smith and Keeneland. Not necessarily the mileage on the clock for these two. So again, this is going to be a really interesting one at how they play this.
Yeah, I think with only 8 in it, we'll have to see if he's going to go for it, and or really just keep giving the horse confidence and building him up for the future.
So Keeneland, Spencer Smith to go early on. Those are going to be our first 3. Will it be the youth of Zaina Rizvi that takes on the world number 2? Cian O'Connor has certainly been one who's been very used to taking them on. Newer ride in Maurice, but this is again a chance, Jimmy, to really start testing this one.
Yeah, again, I think he's got bigger fish to fry in the future with this horse, and I think he's getting to know him. And again, you're walking in the ring at night under the lights. It's hard sitting up here to know their plan. For sure, I know Zaina Rizvi is going to try to win the class, and that's sort of my pick for tonight. I'm gonna not knowing what Ben has in store with his horse, I'm gonna go with Zaina Rizvi.
Okay, and those of course in the rest of the group there: Luciana Lossio, Natalie Dean, Nina Malavey, and finally Tiffany Foster as the group. So we're about ready to go into that jump-off. We're going to take a look at that jump-off course as well, thanks to Fidelity Investments. And here we go with what it looks like, swinging in down under the bridge as I line up here. And they will be starting off this time over fence 5 from that point of view. Jimmy, let's give us a little tour.
I think here you can do 7 strides. They were doing mostly 8. I think you can do 7 on a big mover. Tight back on this vertical at the end of the ring here. Then we have a new jump here, fence number 16, which we didn't see in round 1. And again, this is horse specific. If you get the right jump on the inside track, there is 6 strides here to 9 BC. Worst case, you stay out and you do 7. Then here you roll back as tight as you can on fence number 12, the plank, and I'm not sure if they're going to leave it a plank or make it vertical. And then here, there's no real number. Then it's just a flat-out long run to fence number 14 to finish at the end of the ring there.
So a long finish there. Peter Grant is always very good at those rounds where he produces a course where you've really got to run through there. He keeps you moving all the way through it. Fidelity Investments, thanks to them each week, sponsoring our animations of those courses as well. So just looking across the ring, it looks as though it might still be a plank on there from that point of view. It doesn't say it's going to change, so expecting that. But then, as you say, it's going to be a long run down to the last as well. And so it'll take them up to the finish at the 175 spread at the last on course. So let's build it up and look forward. Ben Mayer. Jimmy, from that point of view, a lot of this is going to depend on what Ben does.
Absolutely. I mean, I think, Ben coming in with a lot of experience, an experienced horse, and they're going to watch him. But, you know, again, is he planning to win this class, or is he building this horse for the next couple of weeks here to come? So it all depends on his plan with that particular horse.
Zaina Rizvi, we talked about in there, and I mentioned a little bit earlier on, the advantage of youth, of just let's go at it.
And really, what does she have to lose?
No.
I mean, young kid, if she was to go out and really go all out and try to win the class and actually win the class, I mean, what a feather in her cap. So she's got nothing to lose tonight.
Okay, then further down, Spencer Smith, Cian O'Connor, Luciano Losio, Natalie Dean into the latter part. Nina Malavey will go 7th for France. And finally, Tiffany Foster with Battle Cry. Ben Mayer making his way up. And so he will be the man they're looking at to set the standard here with Pamela Wright and Charlotte Roster's Faltic HB. They don't need any, in terms of experience here, of how they do this, because they've ridden through to a World Championship. As you say, the question is, how many gears are we going to use right now? But the difference is, if you've watched Ben go, he has that wonderful ability to go fast and feel like it's a smooth round that's not putting too much pressure on.
It's always smooth. I mean, it's always textbook. It's always well ridden. Walking in the ring, I saw him. He was having a conversation with somebody. So, you know, maybe the strategy is to win tonight. You know, it's a $250,000 class tonight. So plenty of money up for grab.
Yeah, don't wait. This is near 5-star money from that point of view. This is a big Grand Prix. So can he do it back to back? Remember, he was the winner here last year as well with Dallas Vegas Bati on that occasion for Ben Mayer. Now having a spin with Faltic HB, as I say, terrific team around him as well, and that's key to so many of them doing well. Right, Jimmy, build it up. Start over the Luster fence as the first at fence 5 and away from the Oxer. What do we do from here?
He did 8. He looked like he was really winding up to the first jump, and he ended up doing 8 strides there. But again, I wouldn't say he's training. This isn't a training round. He's quite fast right here. He does 7 strides, which I think is right for his horse. Perfect roll back here. And now it's just run for the last jump.
Run down to the finish for Ben Mayer, and Faltic HB just gets nicely squared up to it, picks up it easily enough, gets the clear at 40.24. So that's the standard set. Efficient.
Efficient. I think it's very, very beatable. But he did enough. He did enough to really put the pressure on. I think if you love your first jump, there is 7 strides from the first jump to the second jump in the jump off. Thought he was very good to the red. After that, I got to say he was pretty prompt and pretty efficient.
We'll get an idea of them watching as time-wise as they go through the course. He was landing out there in 24 seconds. Zaina Rizvi, the 18-year-old, this is her big moment now. As you say, there's going to be much more from her. She's ridden on Nations Cup last year. She can take the pressure. Zaina with the exquisite groups, Exquise de Pachy. Now, as you say, simply go for it. Good shot at 1.
Yep, she does 7 strides easy. Maybe a touch wider than Ben was there. Her plan originally was 6. I walked with John. She didn't catch this great, but I think she's...
Yeah, but Ben was landing there at 18. She's about a second back at this point. Still a very nice round being put together so far. But again, as you say, shows you how efficient Ben's round was. Nicely done.
I got to say that was well done. She was already over it. The mare cut down on the way down.
Finishes on the 40.89 there, so into second, Zaina Rizvi and Exquise de Pachy. I thought the same as you coming over the plank, that she'd actually got that pretty well done.
Yeah, I mean, the horse was really on its way down on the way. Here we go, see a beautiful replay up and just clipped it on the way down.
Yeah. Well, Zaina Rizvi giving us a little hint of what is available in the future. Good clear from her in the first round. Gave it a good go there. But Ben Mayer just squeaks ahead and stays there at the moment. And let's take it on to now Spencer Smith and the Ashford Farms Keeneland. Like I say, not had necessarily the mileage together with this. Was produced well with Diana Vargas originally, then Mandy Porter. We'll see what he wants to push now on this 11-year-old. What does he do?
You know, again, there's only 8 in the class. it's hard. It's hard to just try to back into third or fourth. Ben did just enough. So at this point, you got to go to beat him.
And it's interesting because you're looking at Ben's round, going, it's not a fireworks round. It's an efficient round, and you're going, come on, there must be more in there. But we'll see what there is. Keeneland and there for Spencer Smith to try and squeeze a little bit more. Where would you try and just push this a little bit further?
Again, with my horse, my horse doesn't have the speed that Faltic has, but for sure I would do 7-1-2, and I think I would do 6 to the double. I think I could leave out a stride there. And if you have the right horse, I think there is 6 to the double. But, again, it's very, very horse specific. He did the 7.
Yeah.
Again, a little wider than Ben to that vertical and has it down.
But again, like you say, that's where Ben was deceptively efficient early on.
No, Ben was slick. I mean, I think he played it very smart. He did 8 from 1-2, which then actually kept the control. I thought Spencer's ride from 1-2 was maybe a little erratic, and and I think that got the horse a little bit undone to the next jump.
But again, like we talked about, new ride for him. He's not quite sure what the reaction's going to be all the time, is he yet?
And now in hindsight, maybe he was thinking he could have gone for the double clear and maybe been third or fourth. But, it's hard. Every one of these people in here, they're competitors. They all have that desire to win in the fight. And, he went for the win. And then early on, he had this jump down and, kind of takes the wind out of your sails.
So Ben Mayer still keeps the lead at the moment. Spencer there. First part of the NetJets double, as is now.
You see there that he was really shoving at the horse, and I think the horse got maybe a little bit undone. He was really wanting to get the 7 strides there.
Cian O'Connor and Maurice now for the Irishman, for the horse for Pat Green. Horse now 12 years of age, had some good experience with Omar Karievli before this as well. I think he can ask a little bit more here for Cian, and the way he's starting off with pace, he intends to go for it.
Yeah, he does 7 easy. But again, wider than Ben there. In one way, you leave out the stride. Ben did 8, but then was very, very tight. So they did 7, but much wider. Same number here. They're close.
Yeah, not far away from Ben's time either. Ben was there, round about 23, 24. Time to beat 40.25. Now, if he really puts the foot to the gas here, he has a chance. 40.24, time to beat for Cian O'Connor. He's setting up for it. He might just about squeeze this. He's just trying to find the line. 40.68 goes into second place for Cian O'Connor and Maurice. You just feel maybe they've got to really run at that and chance at the last. Cian was sensible, played it nicely, and just made sure he got that last fence done.
And the other thing, I think the rollback on that plank, sort of stalled him a bit. That's very hard. You've got to have a very quick, neat horse there. I think when he rolled back on the plank, he stalled a bit. He had to stay out for one more stride.
So leaves Ben Mayer in the lead. Thoughts on that final approach?
Again, I think it was very, very well written. I think it was very smart. He ran down there, but didn't want to take every risk and run through that front rail.
Luciano Lucio of Brazil and Lady Louise. I stand by what I say. I think this pair could just spring a surprise here.
I agree with you. I think she doesn't know what she can't do. I think she's got one speed. She's going to really try to win.
This seems to be the key, the turn back here.
Yep.
But I think this pair will keep chasing. Again, needs to be over here in about 18. Is pretty much up with Ben Mayer so far. Oof.
That was quick.
Yeah,
that was quick. There was spent no time in the air.
No, there's paint on the feet still down there.
She's on him. She's on him.
Down to the last, looking close for Luciano Lossio and Lady Louise. 40.24 to beat, and could well do that. Nose for the line. 40.07 in the lead for Luciana. Thank you.
You called it. You called it. You've done this a time or two.
Once or twice. So the Brazilian goes into the lead. Jimmy, what did you make of that? She was just putting that extra little bit of pace on.
She was quick. The rollback here gets them, but it's a fast-going horse. I think what made the difference is the double. The horse spent zero time in the air at the double.
We'll have a...
That was quick. And here...
Yes, here it is.
Yeah, it was just so quick there. Spent no time in the air.
I mean, you can't be any lower without having it down, is the reality of that, but it worked. So that's a new pace on it, 40.07 for Luciano Lossio and Lady Louise for Brazil. Natalie Dean now and Kota M. And again, if you watch this pair in the last couple of seasons, she's trained with Ben Mayer now. They have pace.
This is a fast little mare, and although she's very, very, very small, can really open her stride up.
But I think if they can get a better turn back to the red and white to fence 1, that might be where we can just squeeze it. And you see, fast start.
Yep, she did 7. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Turn. She's got to stay inside the footprints here, which she does. Wow, that was fast. She looks like she's on 6.
That is faster.
Come on, Natalie. Come on, Natalie. Oh! That was a shame. And this rail's now in the way.
Should just about have enough room. Yep, she's okay. Coming home on the 4, and it's going to be a very fast time. Oh, what a challenge. She's going to pick up a big win this season. She is nearly 2.5 seconds ahead of Luciano Lossio, but it is the one fence down. Finish on the 4, 37.63. Ben Mayer's time was 40.24. Luciano Lossio, 40.07. So she had got that in the bag. But
I think the mare gave such an effort, it kept Natalie a little bit up on her neck, and she wasn't able to get the balance back up. But that was a shame. Well ridden, well done. So close.
Luciano Lossio keeping the lead so far into this NetJets Grand Prix. This would be a really good one for her to pull off. She can. Into our final couple, Nina Malavé now of France, the Rain family's Cartier-Essar for the French 23-year-old. Jumped solidly so far. I don't know what they've got under the hood here to try and pull out.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I don't know this horse that well to see how fast it can go. She does leave out the stride 1 to 2.
Nice round so far, but may just not be fast enough. But again, double clear. We'll put her in a good standing. Lands there. Still not far off the pace. She's 17, 18. She's close.
6. She does 6. She's the only one that's done it.
So she's got to stride out. Now take advantage of it. Now is a good turn. Get away with it. Go on. Now you've got to go. 40.07 for Nina Malavé and Cartier-Essar. We expected a big round out of them this week. Is it enough? It's looking really good for it. 40.12 just goes into second place for Nina Malavé. So close, but I did say in the build-up to this, Nina Malavé for a big round here this week. And there we go. Well done, Nina. Into second spot, Luciano Lossio keeps the lead, 40.07. Nina Malavé, 40.12. I thought she'd just squeak that, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, by doing 6 here, it made up the difference. Unfortunately, this, again, the rollback here is what got her. She rolled back and had to stall, and the horse made a tremendous effort over that plank. So close.
So close. 1 left to go, and it's Tiffany Foster of Canada. Ken Farrington and the Artisan Farms ride of Battle Cry. Now we're going into battle anyway. They won in July last year at Spruce Meadows. Now's your shot.
Come on, Tiff.
Time can be beaten, as we saw from Natalie Dean at 37.63. Now again, she gets to test out this 10-year-old. Tiffany Foster, 5-star Grand Prix winner last year in Vancouver, put her first 5-star Grand Prix, which had plenty of 5-star wins up to that point. Battle Cry's first real battle test. Packed stadium here in Wellington, which is great to see. We're very much into season. A season of top sport. Good enough turn. Now, is she going to go like Nina Malavey and make up a little bit more on the latter part of the round? Needs to be over here. In around 18, she's a fraction back.
She does 6 as well. She did like Nina, did 6.
Is it enough to make it up? Got to go tight here.
Go, Tiffany. Go, 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 go now.
She's got to run.
Go.
Got to run. 40.07. Tiffany Foster, battle cry to the last.
She got it. Go.
It's going to be close. Get your nose over. 39.63. Yes, she's got it. Tiffany Foster, battle cry, wins tonight NetJets Grand Prix. Just weeks it from Luciana Lossio. So it's going to be Canada in the #1 spot. And Jimmy, all the way through that, where you're going, is it, isn't it, is it, isn't it?
Yeah, again, I think doing the 6 strides to the double made the difference, and a rollback on the plank showed up well. She galloped to the last jump probably a little bit more than Nina did. I think that in the end really made the difference. I think they were setting up early, but she really, really took a run at the last jump.
Super lineup, and it's the ladies in 1, 2, 3, by the way. Tiffany Foster, Luciana Lossio, and Nina Malavey make up the top 3. Ben Mayer in 4th in the end in tonight's Grand Prix. Top 5 for Cian O'Connor. Here's the lineup, and as you can see, it's a good chunk of change as well goes to our winner. Thanks to NetJets. Luciana Lossio in 2nd, Nina Malavey in 3rd, Ben Mayer in 4th place, Cian O'Connor in 5th, 6th place to Natalie Dean as well for her. Then further down, Zaina Rizvi finishing in 7th, Spencer Smith in 8th place. Then from that first round, Carly Anthony banks a little there as well, just over 4,000, as does Erin Ballard, Nicola Philipparts and Richard Vogel of Germany are in the mix as well here. Super lineup, super takeoff and landing for all of those involved, and all of those that do a perfect takeoff and landing are, of course, our sponsors. Thank you to NetJets.
With NetJets, travel will always be personal. We do everything it takes to make every flight exceptional. Every single detail of your experience is personalized, just for you. As our standard is not just to meet our definition of perfection, it's to exceed yours.
Well, a terrific night of sports, and it was a definitely will they, won't they rundown of those into the jump-off here in the end. Congratulations to the winning combination, to Tiffany Foster, and Battle Cry brings it home for her. And, well, there'll be certainly some cheering. I know her mum's somewhere in the house as well. She's always her biggest fan as well. Lynn will be out there cheering her little socks off. And, well, it was super stuff. We're going to take a look at that winning round as well, but just squeaks it ahead of Luciana Lossio and Nina Malavey. Solid there as well. Really good strategy. And we're coming up to that presentation too. But we're going to take a look at that winning round of Tiffany Foster. Jimmy Tarano has been alongside me. Jimmy, thank you very much for all of that you've done tonight. What do you take away from tonight, and what do you look forward to in the next few weeks seeing this?
You know, I would say this was probably the first big class of the season. Here we see Tiffany in the jump off. 1 to 2, as we talked. She did 7 strides here. She sort of stayed on the pace. She was very quick here to the red vertical. For a split second, I questioned the way she caught this oxer. If she was doing 6 or 7, she didn't catch a strong oxer, but then horse has a right drift, put on the inside track, and she does 6 strides quite easily. Went a little wider here, so it didn't really force her to get stalled out as much as some of the others. But then this was the difference right here. She really put the pedal to the metal and ran all the way to the last jump. She was able to ride up the last stride and just nipped him.
Certainly did. 39.63 as the winning time. Tiffany Foster is our winner over a Canadian design course as well, but no relation, but great stuff. Well done to Peter Grant, our course designer tonight as well. Certainly set a good stage for some terrific sport. As I say, that's the real curtain raiser for what to expect over the next few weeks as well. Next week, we're out on the field. Tomorrow, we bring you the Hermes 150 and also the 2-star Grand Prix. I think I'm going to be in the seat for that one tomorrow afternoon as well, as we ready for the presentation. NetJets, wonderful supporters here, and certainly we bring home a perfect landing. Laura Souther just coming into position. Manager of Strategic Partnerships for NetJets, alongside Melissa Dombro, who's VP of Sales, and Kelly McCauley, Chief Marketing Officer with NetJets as well as we ready for the presentation. Jimmy, it remains for me to say to you, good luck in the next few weeks. We've got you in this week because we're hoping you're going to be in action for the coming weeks as well.
Yeah, I definitely hope to be there. This was a great class and a great win for Tiffany. You know, she's so high on that horse. It's nice when you're that high on a horse and it comes through and it wins the class. I was actually schooling my horses at her farm today and we were talking about it. So great win for Tiffany and the Ziegler family, and Ken Farrington, part owner of that horse.
Excellent. Good stuff from them. And so our top three making their way in for the presentation. Very good result for Nina Malave and the Rain family with Cartier SR. And just coming under the bridge is a delighted Luciana Lucio and Lady Louise. We picked out a couple of those for you. We hope we were going to take it as wins regardless. And Tiffany Foster, we're always delighted to see her at the #1 spot. But there's Nina Malave finishing in third for the French rider. And Jimmy, she just tried to pull something out in the latter part of the course, and I think that was probably a little bit of the strategy of Nick Skelton on the side there too.
Yeah, again, I think Nina did everything exactly right. The rollback on that second to last jump, you know, made her stall out a bit, and I think that was the difference. I think she did everything exactly as to plan, but you know, when you turn that tight, the horse normally has to slow down, and it caught up to her.
Delighted, happy, Tiffany Foster there, and it deserves to be beaming. She's hugely popular, which is great.
Yeah, Tiffany's a real competitor, always happy, loves her horses.
Nina Malave coming forward for the presentation. So they finish into third place, second spot coming up before we get to our winner and the blue ribbon for the night. You can see them making their way down to the sidelines as well, because we've going to be giving a few giveaways to the crowd as well. If you're here in the stadium as well, remember we stay on for the completion of the Grand Prix because they've got gift cards. They've got the riders are going to be giving out some of the winning rosettes as well. So they're going to be little incentives there for you to thank you for being a part of it. Luciana Lucio going to be very happy with that, finishing into second place. Would have liked the win, but just squeezed at the end by this lady, Tiffany Foster, with the Artisan Farms, Kent Farrington's, and her own Battle Cry. Battle Cry lives up to the name.
Sure does. Good win for Tiff.
Yep. Goes into battle fantastically. Well done to her. It's going to be the flying of the maple leaf in a few moments' time for the national anthem winning rider. And a beaming whoop. One step forward, two steps back.
Mm.
There we go. Whoop. They've got it. Laura and Melissa helping out down there alongside Kelly too. So it is a terrific lineup for them. Well done to all of those involved. And we will ready for the playing of the national anthem of our winning rider here tonight as well. Congratulations. and then receiving the various awards, and also for Mainstream giving over those munchies to the horses as well. They get carrots as well as a little reward. Congratulations to them. Thank you to them. Going to our top three. And getting ready for the Victory Gallop, we've got also the presentations of the Leading Groom Award and Leading International Rider as well. But centre stage for Tiffany Foster and Battle Cry as they come out as our winning storming pair. It's Canada, France and Brazil as our top three as part of tonight's competition. Well done to them. Tiffany Foster finishes our winner for the Grand Prix, and looking forward to what comes over the next few weeks as well. Yeah, a few ribbons for the crowd. There we go. And an ecstatic group watching on. Gives a little salute on the way past. And well done to Luciana Lossio finishing in second place in the end, and Nina Malave for that top three finish. So a presentation to Leading International Rider and the Double H Farm Grooms Award to complete the lineup for tonight as well. Tiffany Foster heading into the next few weeks in a strong position, certainly very happy with that, and it's going to be a beaming Tiff that comes back in for the final stages of the presentation here as well. And coming into the line, presentation to Caitlin Brown, the leading groom, there with Tiffany as they make the presentation. Double H making the donation there, $500 to the winning groom. Thank you to them once again, to Casey Harrison Judge and to Quentin Judge there and family. And our leading international rider, she's brought home the Grand Prix very neatly, is Tiffany Foster, because she finished fourth in the WEF qualifier as well. So she receives that. Congratulations to them. Martha Jolly-Kerr giving that presentation as well, together with Michael and Wendy Smith. And wraps up our presentations. That's it. Thank you very much. Super stuff here from Wellington once again. Close out of the NetJets Grand Prix. My thanks to Jimmy Serrano for being a part of it as well. Thank you, Jimmy. Good luck in the next few weeks. We will be back in action with you over the next few days. Terrific performance, a win in the NetJets Grand Prix. She sits the perfect landing. Tiffany Foster and Battle Cry. We'll see you soon.
That wraps us up for tonight. Congratulations again. Canada takes the win with Tiffany Foster and the battle cry on our Artisan Farms and Kent Barrington LLC. We'd like to thank you all for joining us here tonight for our $4-star $215,000 NetJets Grand Prix. And we'd also like to thank our official sport photographer, Sportfolk, with photos uploaded every day at sportfolk.com. Also, the official Vet Palm Beach Equine Clinic, the official veterinarian of the Windsor Equestrian Festival, and Adequan Global Dressage Festival, located just down the road. You can find more at equineclinic.com. And thank you, Mark Dr. Stephen Rock, representing our FBI International Leading